Thank you for joining us, and make sure to check out the audio version of this episode on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Be on the lookout for new weekly episodes. You can find us by searching Nerditude Movie Podcast, and that'll get you where you need to go. Check out the video version, if you're into that sort of thing, on YouTube. Just search Nerditude Entertainment. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe.
What about Sabbath? AC/DC? Motorhead? Oh, what are they teaching this place?
Thank you for joining the Nerditude Movie Podcast. I am Matt, and I am here with your hosts, Lewis and Alex. We're going over a couple of movies for you tonight, and I'm going to let Lewis take that away.
All right, guys, so we have a double feature as usual. So we are doing the original Robocop and its remake. So we are, of course, going to start off with the remake. Or, sorry, not the remake, the original. So this film came out in 1987. This was directed by Paul
Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, yes, is a Dutch name.
Verhoeven.
I butchered that. So this film, 102 minutes for runtime. Smaller budget film, especially for sci-fi, 13 million. This ended up making 53.4 million at the box office. And this was distributed and produced by Orion Pictures, which, funny thing about them, they pretty much put out just garbage films. So this was like their this was their unicorn of pictures, and they went bankrupt not long after. But before I get
took
to
the money and ran.
Yeah, before I get to the cast, I just found a couple interesting things about this film. So this film, when it was being produced, was rated X. It was deemed unshowable, which, if you watch the rated R version, you can see why. This film went to bat for a smaller rating 11 times before it finally got deemed rated R. Another thing is the director of this film did some pretty good films afterwards. He did Total Recall, Starship Troopers, he did Basic Instinct, and Hollow Man.
I love Hollow Man.
Hollow Man's a good film. So you also got to realize this film came kind of hot off the heels of the original Terminator movie. So
Yeah.
that's why Orion Pictures was banking on this to kind of be a moneymaker, which technically wasn't. This film also took inspiration from Judge Dredd, as well as a Marvel comic called Rom, which is referenced in the movie too. But for a cast, so we have Peter Weller, who stars as Alex Murphy.
You're
slash
welcome.
Robocop. Yeah. Nancy Allen as Ann Lewis, Peter Weller's partner. You have Dan O'Herlihy, who's credited. He's credited as the old man. Interesting. You have Ronnie Cox as Dick Jones, the senior president of OCP. Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Whitaker, who obviously Red
Foreman.
Yeah, and then you have the late character actor Miguel Ferreira as Bob Morton. He's kind of the young, ambitious OCP.
He's dead.
She
he
died.
passed not too
Yeah,
long ago.
Wow, I didn't
No,
know
it was
that.
long ago, or
a couple years ago, I believe.
I didn't know that. That sucks. I mean, Bob Morton did make a mistake, and I guess
yeah,
it was time for him to pay for that
17,
mistake.
Yeah.
2017.
So, basic premise for this film, it's not so much dystopian future, but it's corrupt Detroit. You basically have law enforcement stretching themselves thin, and Peter Weller's character Alex Murphy is transferred to this division, ends up mutilated, I guess is the friendliest way to put it. And OCP ends up funding him being turned into Robocop, and kind of chaos ensues after that.
Sentient being in a robot
You
body.
know, after you described the movie to me, I don't know if I want to watch it. It sounds a bit rough around the neck. I'm just saying.
It's a little bit rough. So jumping into our non-spoiler thoughts on this film, I watched this film at an age that was probably too young to see it, as probably Matt did as well. So
Birth.
naturally, I love this movie. To me, there's something about 70s and 80s films, future aesthetic or version of the future, like when you think of like Blade Runner,
Yeah.
RoboCop, Alien. There's something new films can't really translate, and I don't know why. It's just a product of its time.
Because
but
it was called Hope.
yeah,
They had
exactly.
hope back then that the future would be bright and we'd be driving flying cars, and instead we're still battling carbon emissions.
It's also called No Filter.
Oh yeah, but I
Your
like
parents
this.
had no filter for what you watched.
No, not at all. I mean, when it came, it was like, if there could be beheadings on screen, and my dad was like smoking a cigarette, A-OK, but if a pair of tits came on screen, cover your eyes,
Cover your eyes.
cover your eyes, and that was like
Put your hands on your ears.
that was his only censoring, was cover your eyes if there was like nudity. Other than that, like Terminator 2, I was watching. You and I watched at the same age. I watched it over and over. I went for the one Halloween. One of my mom's favorite pictures was me dressed up as little mini Terminator in my little fat guy pudgy little leather jacket. I was like 5. Sorry, Luis.
Yeah,
Go on.
I distinctly remember telling my grandmother that I wanted to be RoboCop, and she told me I couldn't do that.
We would have to kill you.
But I I like this film. Well, I more than like this film, but I do like that the story, um it has a beginning and an end. There is a lot when we jump into spoilers, there's a lot of weird story choices uh in this movie, but you get the sense of uh Alex Murphy's character, um kind of like taking his revenge on what happens to him. I like the soundtrack for this movie, the score, um, and I think the cast is awesome, especially Terrence Bodeker's character, or Clarence Bodeker's character. I like him as kind of the bad guy. There's a lot of scenes in this movie that, jumping to the remake, I think are just so much better in here. But I'll wait till we jump into spoilers. I'm going to be extremely biased for this film just because this I hold up in regard with Terminator 2, and Alien and films like that. But Alex, I guess if you want to jump in, what are your non-spoiler thoughts?
For me, not spoiler thoughts. It was pretty cheesy, like, and I love that part about it because '80s films were always like, they had the cheesiness, but it wasn't over the top. There was, as far as the action sequence goes, for the time that it was, it kind of made sense. Like it was groundbreaking at the time to see something like that on TV or in theaters. The acting wasn't that great, but it was good. No, it was. Um, some of the stars that were in there, like later on became like household names. And if they weren't household names, at least you know that notice their faces, like the Paul McCrane, the Emil character, the one from the gas station with the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
He ends up on ER.
Well, isn't it Ray Winston or Ray something?
Wise.
Ray Wise, yeah, is
Ray
one
Wise.
of the goons in the gang. He's the dark-haired guy.
Yeah.
Which one's Ray White? Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's Twin Peaks fame. He's in Twin Peaks. A lot of
He
other
also
nice
played the
movies.
devil, and he was in a Fox sitcom or something. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah, something like that. So like I noticed him from like a lot of different things too, but I couldn't place him even to this day. I know his face is very familiar. And then like you said, the music that was pretty cool, and it also touches into the next movie, which like you said we're gonna do that later.
Yeah, I like the soundtrack. I think the soundtrack on both of them is actually pretty well done.
Yeah, it makes sense for what's going on, and it built it up, and. But yeah, overall, like I like the action. I like the cheesiness. I liked all that stuff. And what was it? The guy you said, the old man.
Yeah, the old man. That's what he's.
The old man, yeah. But yeah,
executive of OCP.
I'm pretty simple with my non-spoiler thoughts for Robo Original. So.
I once called the old man an asshole.
What do you got to say, Matt?
Spoiler free, not a whole lot, because I mean this was the type of movie that like, as a kid I watched it. Growing up I watched it. Like I have watched this movie. Sometimes it's been a few times a year. Sometimes it's once a year, twice a year. But I've watched it so many times that as you get older, you kind of analyze it a little bit differently, and you see kind of different things that maybe in your memories are different because you don't process them the same as a kid. I love this fucking movie.
Speaking on that, I'm sorry, but speaking on that not processing it as a kid, there's some parts that I remember as a kid when I saw it in theater. You had to go in with an adult, and I'll talk about that on the spoiler part. But I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that.
No, yeah, I think I always love when I have a memory of like when I saw a movie in especially if it's a movie theater that used to, because movie theaters used to be awesome. Like if you had a nice movie theater that you went to, it was an experience. It was as close to like the Universal Studios 3D movies as they could get in a 2D movie theater. The sound, like I remember when I saw Mortal Kombat, the sound was so loud it was a scary movie. Like when they get to the part where they're on the boat and Raiden comes in, like it was terrifyingly loud. I obviously never got to see this one in the theater. I was born in '89, so a little late to the boat on that one. But no, I love this movie. It's great when you look at it in the spectrum of time. And Paul Verhoeven, I love his movies. Like Total Recall, Starship Troopers, which I was going to mention, if Lewis hadn't, is one of my favorite movies. And you can see the guy's penchant for gore, but his penchant for gore is kept in weird kind of boxes, like in individualized scenes. Like when you think about Total Recall, until you get to the point where his buddy tries to kidnap him in the train station, there's not a very violent movie, but then he wastes 5 of them, and there's blood on the walls, and he's broken this guy's neck, and Starship Troopers was probably the most egregiously violent movie, where he was just like, we're gonna have these big bugs fuck shit up for you guys.
Walls.
I love the director, the score. I mean, how do you not hear the Robocop, and not be like if I was walking down the sidewalk and heard that in the distance, I would, like a dog, be like, huh? And I would look to see who's playing that song to find them, and hopefully it's a quest.
Listening for the thump.
Thump. Yeah.
Getting louder and louder as the
footprint but no, I love the movie. I tell you what, I'm just gonna go right into the spoiler ones. I'll go first. So it's hard to know where to start. So I'll start at the beginning, as far as my take on it. They introduce you to his precinct. Basically, they introduce you to a world not super far off where we are right now, where like chaos has descended, the class warfare is worse it's ever been. Omnicorp comes in and they're basically buying Detroit. and erasing the bad parts of it and trying to build this new metropolis. And it's gotten so bad that police officers are dying in record numbers, and there's threats of going on strike, and it's just a very bad situation. And the idea of let's get robots out there comes with the Ed 209. Now, I like the Ed 209. I think it's an awesome, but it's a clumsy, big robot. It's not very versatile, and it goes on to where you have the infamous boardroom scene where they go to test
sound it makes.
Yeah, and when it goes down the stairs.
Oh yeah.
And here's my take on that scene and what you don't think about as a kid. When you're a kid, you hear the baby crying sound of the Ed 209 for when he gets into the battle scene with him, and you're ha 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 ha. But as you get older, you kind of think about it like that entire scene is only there to show you the reason why the organics of Robocop are superior, because this is a dumb machine who can't even calculate how to use its foot. Meanwhile, you have Murphy, who is an organic being who has a brain that can actually think and dodge and all that. That's
Oh, you guys heard like baby sounds. I heard like a pig like stuck in a corner
it
somewhere.
it was like a distorted like squeal almost that they had. Yeah. But I think it was designed to be like a baby. Like when I remember watching it as a kid, I was like, oh, it sounds like a baby dinosaur.
That's interesting because that was like in one of my notes about the sound that the Ed 209 made on the stairs.
But they introduced Murphy comes in. He's from from the way you can tell, he's from like a suburban precinct.
He's probably from like California type.
Yeah,
like
he's in it's Detroit, so he's in that nice Michigan suburb, and then he comes into Detroit, and meanwhile, Beverly Hills Cop is in another precinct apparently too. But he comes into this precinct and he's immediately introduced to the scum of the earth that Lois is beating the shit out of because he threatened, and he's just he's still got this weird bravado about him though, which when you first meet Murphy, you're kind of like, he's a dick. Like, no? Is he too cocky?
Overly confident.
And then he's immediately met with the chief, who just comes into the locker room and rips Fredrickson's name off his locker, and the service is tomorrow. If you're not on duty, you'd like you to attend. And I like how it gives that Murphy, where you can clearly see he comes into it thinking, I'm a pretty good cop, I should do no problem here, and is immediately kind of like, no, this is not what you're used to. But I tell you what, we'll go round table on this because I think there's a lot to talk about, and I don't want to step on many toes as far as what content in the beginning. So we'll take it. I'm going to bounce it off to Alex. Just stick to first little bit of the movie.
Yeah. Well, one of my things is that as they were introducing the characters as they were going along, why the fuck were they all so damn close to each other? Like when they're in the elevator, like, have you noticed that? Like every time they would talk, they would always be like this close to each other.
Well, there's the scene in the bathroom where like him and they're talking, and that's when he's like, I once called the old man an asshole. And then he does the, like, pulls his hair. You just fucked with the wrong. Like, it's like,
God, that was some serious sexual tension there, man.
that
Like, really
bathroom's
give him some dick.
That, like, I'm the dude who's trying to zip up pissing himself. Like, I don't want to fucking be in here. Like, get me out of here. Like, that's me running out of there. Like, if I overheard that conversation.
Oh, man. But yeah, so there was that was making me think about that. The Ed 209, we already covered that. When they like started throwing out like the who's going to be the big bad guy, seeing them introduce that, I was like, holy shit, Red Foreman again. Now, as an adult, it comes as Red Foreman every time I see him. But back then, I had no idea who he was.
Well, Kurtwood Smith is the actor's name. I do like how he's not the bad guy though. Like, that's the thing, is he's the bad guy.
I know, but
the way they layer it to where it's like you have him, and then you've got Dick Jones, and then you've got, in the sequels, even the old man starts to become evil. So like, they really layered their bad guys. All of the CEOs are basically.
So there was that stuff there, and then one of the things I wanted to say about when I went to see that in the movie theater, the scene where RoboCop first goes out and he, the girl's about to be raped or whatever. Mm-hmm. and he like shoots the guy, you know, like he like does his target assessment, he like shoots the guy in the groin, and he tells her, what is it, how does he say it, I have a
I will notify a rape crisis counselor or rape crisis center.
yeah,
Just
for
completely
some reason
emotionless.
in the theater, everybody in the theater fucking laughed at that. Today, that would not be laughed at in
No.
any form.
Well, you couldn't put
So
that in the
just like,
movie today.
yeah, just like comparing it like to today and back in the 80s, the big difference of seeing a movie in theaters, like you said, the theater was a thing. That was just like one of the big things about that for me. We can move on to Lewis for this because I don't want to move too far ahead, you know, and if there might be something else he wants to cover.
Yeah, so I have a lot of thoughts for kind of when we come back around, but
Yeah.
two things I want to point out.
All right, so hold on. It's just really hard to contain what we want to talk about because we
It
love
is.
this movie, and we've never
Well,
had
it
this.
is.
Besides bullshitting with each other, we don't at our age as men get the opportunity to reminisce about RoboCop. So there's a lot. It's you're just, ladies and gentlemen, we are extracting the zip file. It's just a lot of decompress. Okay, just bear with us,
don't
Lewis.
want to
Sorry.
step on any toes, man.
Yeah, there's
So-
we got to take this shit in segments. Sorry, Lewis. Go ahead.
So one thing that I liked when I saw this movie at an early age was the kind of breaking the not breaking the fourth wall, but the television show like news broadcast that
Yeah.
splices in between the film along
Yeah.
with the commercials. And I thought that was cool growing up. I didn't realize as I got older that was also to pad out the rating so that it wouldn't be an X rating. So they tried to add that kind of humor and levity to the film, and that's why they spliced it a bit. Another
Nancy
thing is,
O'Dell.
yeah, I'd buy that for a dollar.
And that too.
So another thing is I didn't catch it until I watched this movie for the millionth time. That they actually justify Ed 209 existing because the reason they're using this technology is to pad it out and test it for the military. Now that's where it gets weird because when Ed 209 doesn't become a success, OCP is like, let's make RoboCop, but it's not for the military. So it kind of goes
Mhm.
off the rails with the whole company and their motives. Like another thing is Matt said the scene where Ed 209 obliterates one of the fucking executives.
The unrated
they-
version's better too. You get like a good
Yeah.
solid 3 more seconds of dude just getting ripped to shreds.
They just go about the meeting and another thing I'll like before I let us move further into the movie. In this movie, RoboCop, Alex Murphy as RoboCop, he arrests two people. Two people total. Two people he takes from where they're at to the precinct. And that's Terrence or Clarence Bodeker's character
Aw.
and the guy who gets fucking melted. Those
Paul
are the two
McCrane,
people he
ML.
arrests.
And well,
That is it.
they never show him actually arrest him though. The last scene you
No,
see
they
of him
don't.
is getting shot off the motorcycle, and then he's like, "Yeah, I got out on bail." You know?
Yeah, and then they show him, yeah.
But can you imagine the fucking damage control? Because literally every other person he went to, whether it be the drug shootout or
The liquor
the
store.
yeah, the liquor store, the two guys who are gonna attack that girl,
The
he literally
yeah.
murdered people.
It's just the entire drug shootout is like 30 dudes he kills.
Yeah, and then I guess my last thing before we get further into the movie, one thing I love about this film is the suit, which was designed by Rob Bottin, who he did a lot of the creature effects on The Thing from John Carpenter, as well
Okay.
as a bunch of other films. And this suit, I won't compare it too much to the other movie, but this suit feels like clunky. The movement,
Yeah.
Alex. Peter Weller's movement in the suit is very clunky, and ironically, like when they were doing like pre-production for the movie, they wanted RoboCop to be more like loose and kind of like dancer-esque. But I like the way he moves in this film. Like he sound like Alex said, the foot sounds between that and his like rigid movements, like he looks and sounds like what a RoboCop would sound like. And yeah, I love those small things. It still like hangs me up that he only arrests 2 people in this film though. But yeah, Matt, I'll let you jump back and kind of move us further through the movie.
I'm just gonna take a pause. I'll edit this part out, but I think we should do the analysis of each of the movies, and then before we do the list, we do the comparisons between the two. Because if we don't, there's gonna be a lot of like bouncing back and forth with the comparisons. I think
Okay.
we should have a dedicated segment after the end of like. So Alex,
For
what comparisons did you like, or did you think about, or did you catch, stuff like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I really like how they put together the scenes. It would have been kind of cool because it does go from like Murphy gets really violently murdered, and in the unrated cut they add a good 30 to 45 seconds of some gore. If you're interested, on iTunes, the version they have is the unrated version. There is no other. So if you get it on iTunes, you'll see that version. But it goes from that to there's the scenes where he's being developed, where he's basically just a torso on the floor, and you have that like 80s like shitty CGI where it's like, bring down the LCD, zero. Then there's the New Year's Eve scene, and then you have the "It's for you, it's for you," as he's just walking through this line of executives and scientists and shit. I do like how they go. I do wish they would have done some sort of comic book framing scene transitions, because the way they do it, that it's directed and set up, is it's like condensed scenes. He goes from the protecting the woman from the rape to the gas station with the infamous "fuck me" as he's got like a World War II grease gun somehow, to the then the gas station. There's also getting into the middle to the meat of the movie, and I think we'll just take it all the way through. I'll try not to step on too many toes. But personally, for me, scenes like the gas station, you're watching it and you realize that when they blow it up, A, it's a real explosion. B, there's a dude in the fucking suit, a stuntman, walking out of this real life explosion. And I was watching with my wife, and I go, could you imagine being the stuntman? Like, okay, we're going to blow up this gas station. You got to walk your way out of it. Just there's cool things like that you love, but I love how it goes from crime to crime. And one of my favorite scenes when I was younger was always when he visits his house. And you have that, like, the flashback scenes where, we were talking earlier where, you get that initial scene when he dies of the, I really need to tell you something. And you're kind of like, oh, she's mad at him for going to the dangerous precinct. And then it comes back to it where it's, I really need to tell you something. I love you. And they're like, it's like an endearing scene. And then he sees the world's greatest dad mug. And by this point, his RoboCop lips are puckered. He's just, as he's walking through the fucking house, he's got that weird movement he's doing. And he punches, you could tell, like, but that scene was when the shit was hitting the fan. Like, after that scene, especially if you watched it on TV and stuff, there was a commercial break, and then the true action began. That's where he started hunting dudes down, goes to the nightclub, takes out Ray Wise, starts gathering all the members. My favorite scene in the movie is the drug lab scene, where where they finally show him as he's kicking down the big steel door, and he proceeds to waste everyone, and that leads to the scene where you got Red Foreman spitting up blood, screaming he works for Dick Jones, and that leads into the conflict. And RoboCop has now recorded his confession, and every scene folds into itself. And after that, it doesn't let up. The movie just revs and revs, and even when he gets damaged and he's got to retreat and he's hanging out at the steel mill, there's scenes where the bad guys are getting those crazy ass military weapons, blowing up the fucking strip mall, blowing each other's car up, and just the chaos they demonstrate.
What was it? The 3,000 or the 6,000?
Yeah.
6,000 bucks. UX.
One of the things I when I watched it this time, you realize, because there's two angles of when he leaves the carport in the police station, and one of them is a dead-on shot. That's where he scrapes the bumper. Well, they have a later on shot where he takes off, and the angle that the garage is actually at, you could see that there's no way to do that speed. And when he pulls out in this particular scene, he actually slowly goes up it. Because with the actual garage where they filmed it, without it being like, we're going to film from the back and have you speed up, there's a weird little S-curve leading to the driveway going out of the garage. So there's no way to actually leave that police garage at that speed unless for movie magic. I saw that and I found that kind of funny. But I don't want to step on toes because, like I said, I could talk on everything. So I'm going to hand this off to Lewis. Spoiler alert, just some of the things you noticed.
Yeah, so I like one of my favorite things in this movie is when Alex Murphy becomes Robocop and you see his arc of kind of him losing his humanity, finding out exactly who his killers were, with that fucking the thing that comes out.
Well, the nerdy police officer who's like, you can't access that, and he's like, fling, and he's just like
the middle finger. It was like the middle finger.
And we all know how that thing comes in use in the end.
But I like one of the coolest scenes that sticks with me, at least I think about it, besides the Alex Murphy becoming spaghetti, is when they assemble him as RoboCop and you have the chase cam scene of the police officers running through kind of the back office.
Yeah, as he's
to see him.
Shadow. You see just a shadow coming through and
behind the glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, so Ronnie Cox and Bob Morton, their relationship in this movie is interesting, because everyone fears Ronnie's character, and Bob Morton kind of takes him on, and just to see, like, the OCP as itself, their corporation is so like whack. It kind of, they don't really go into kind of the character's motives. You're just, that Cox's character is just this bad guy, and the jumping to the part where he sends Clarence to take out Bob with the fucking pin grenade. That's a cool fucking scene
with a timer.
Yeah, that was a futuristic ass grenade.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was watching, I was counting. I was like 1, 2, 3. It's going pretty
and lots of cocaine involved in that shot.
The best line of the entire movie comes in that scene when fucking Red Foreman comes and he's just like, "Bitches leave." Like, he's over there and then he walks over and like dabs his fingers in the cocaine and rubs it on his, like, he could tell he's like, at that point he's looking at it like, I gotta get where these drugs are coming from. And then the next scene is the drug lab. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's some weird interactions that I don't know if they were purposely put in there, but it's the characters all have dynamic, which is cool. And to touch on your thing of like what they're, I think the whole thing is they're military contractors, so you have to assume that they're just all greedy and evil, and because of that you're dealing with a company of alphas. So basically they're just showing the boardroom is the Shark Tank or the Wolf's Den, that they'll eat each other alive to get profits from their idea type thing. Because when they show Bob's house or apartment or whatever it was, it's a beautiful property. Like, the guy obviously makes mad money.
That was the 80s. That was, everybody was doing coke. Coke was just like which is
interesting because it's not set in the 80s. So to kind of transist what they thought the future would be based on what they were seeing currently. Yeah, it's interesting to see that difference.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it was also filmed in Dallas. I think there's only like one panning shot that's actually in Detroit for this film. But it's
is that the beginning when they were going to the cars?
No, you can tell the one scene's in Detroit. Shoot, go ahead. Sorry, I'm not gonna hold it up.
Oh no, I think it might be a panning shot on the OCP building, but I'm not too sure. But the film does a good job of like making it like their version of Detroit just feels gritty and lived in, and the film does a really good job of making you think that this is Detroit or that version of Detroit. Um, but so a couple other things that stand out to me. So the guns in this movie are weird. Like there's the scene where the man with the trench coat walks into the
Yeah, it's like
I
a
think it's
grease
gas
gun
station.
from like World War
Yeah.
II.
However, that I don't know how that fit in his trench coat, but also Murphy's gun. I'm pretty sure his gun is modeled after Robocop's gun is modeled after a Beretta. Like, Matt, I'm not a gun aficionado. How many bullets fit in a clip for a Beretta?
Well, so I mean, you can get extendo clips, but I mean, realistically, they don't really describe what caliber he's firing. But his gun also fires like, I don't know if it's rapid fire, because when they show him in the range, it's clearly a rapid fire, but he's also got single fire potential. They went full on Future with it, and they were just like, what can we do to get a gun that is a powerhouse? That, I mean, realistically, it's a plot hole on how they explain the ammunition, because you don't ever see him reload. You know,
Well,
the clip is literally this big in the gun. Like,
is,
for me,
but-
I was drawing my own things. He's got his leg, you know, where the gun goes. Every time if it gets holstered, it gets reloaded or whatnot. Because he's not always with the gun in his hand, but yeah.
but that's the
Well, no,
thing is,
but
like, he's in the
also-
middle of battle and he's just.
Yeah.
So jumping back to the gun range, Matt, you frequent gun ranges. Is it socially acceptable for you to stick your head past the area where you fire your gun to look at someone else who's firing their gun?
No, you would imagine police officers would understand that when you're at a gun range and you're firing and you hear somebody, for one thing, it does happen in the gun range where if you're like on a certain range and people are firing pistols and then you hear a particular boom, like if somebody brings out a shotgun, you will generally kind of like back up and go, what the hell is that guy firing? But there's never as like,
But not forward.
like, yeah, you don't have people like children in a high school hall being like, look at the size of that gun. You know, like, these are cops.
Yeah.
And they're over
they're
here
all-
like, line of fire? What? And yeah, they're peeking their head out. Like, no, that's how you get some brass to the face at a minimum.
Well, they were all getting interested because they were shooting little. Compared to what he's doing, they're shooting little pea shooters.
Well, they're shooting 40,
He's got-
but that's
he's
the
got
other
this
thing is
little-
like,
He's
what
got this little
caliber
mini
round?
Gatling going.
Well, yeah,
He's got a little mini Gatling.
yeah, they never explain what caliber he's firing on, which, I mean, if you want to go, you can go Desert Eagle, like, or they could be 45 mag. I mean, they're no smaller than probably 45s, is what you would imagine they'd have him firing out of. It was most common, you know, police Berettas are 45s. I think I'll make a quick comparison. I think the reboot does the weaponry of RoboCop way better.
Yeah, this first one, a lot of people with firearms in this movie suffer from stormtrooper syndrome, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of cool fucking guns in this movie.
Well, he's
especially-
sorry.
Well,
go
you-
ahead.
Oh no, the end, the close to the end scene where everyone has sniper rifle rocket launchers.
Yeah,
50
yeah,
caliber.
yeah.
Yeah, fucking Joey shooting it, you know, like this.
But that's not even
How
a
come the
50
recoil didn't.
that's not
how come
even
recoil
50
didn't, like,
caliber.
hit him in the nuts and drop him to the floor.
But like 50 caliber rounds don't explode. 50,
I know, but
a 50 caliber would take a good chunk out of some concrete, but they fire it and it's like it takes out a city block. It's
But
like,
they
what the
said that
hell?
it was a 50 caliber or higher. So, but
Well,
but
well,
like,
no,
you
no,
see-
that's
you
in the
see-
reboot. That's in the reboot.
Oh yeah.
Wrong one, man.
Sorry.
Party foul.
I was thinking about part 3. I apologize.
Now you gotta get. I'm disconnecting you.
It's almost like it's like they're Halo 3 players and they're trying to no scope everyone and just fucking missing every time. That's pretty much.
Well,
That's-
he's
that's
slow.
all
He's
of-
slow as fuck, and they get to the point towards the end when they all have the big guns, and he's like, "Looking for me?" And he slowly turns and they miss somehow, you know, and he fucking takes one of them out. Like, he's slow. Like, how are you missing the guy?
He's extremely slow, which is crazy about it, but yeah.
But
Alec,
I'll let you jump in.
off of the first movie, but you know when they were doing part 2, WCW the wrestling, they actually had a pay-per-view called Capital Combat, and he was one of the main guys that was featured in this pay-per-view, and he actually went to help Sting fight against the Horsemen, and he like broke the cage door off and freed Sting from his cage on pay-per-view, and this is all like some crazy stuff. That was like one of the promo things that they did for Robocop.
That was pretty neat.
But yeah, look it up, 1990 Capital Combat. But yeah, like you were saying about the guns, those guns that they came out with, and he like shoots the car and it blows up. He's like, "Yeah, I finally got a car like you." And the laugh that Joey had, oh my god, I just wanted to like punch him every time he fucking laughed.
The movie does do a great job of just being like, yeah, no, these guys are pieces of shit. Like when he's going through Clarence's arrest record, and it's like everything you could ever be arrested for, he's done. Like, it would have been quicker for it to come up and just the word everything flashes.
But yeah, when Murphy's going through the list of all these things after the guy's like ML. How do you say that? ML or email? The character for the bald guy.
Emil or whatever his name was.
EMIL, yeah, Emil. Like when he's like, "I know you," he's like, "You're dead. You're dead.
We killed you."
And then like he like records that and he plays it back. He's got this program in him that's supposed to make him forget about all this stuff, and he's fighting the program to remember, to why is this guy saying this to me? You know, like what is going on? And like his program's like faulty there, and it's because he's a live person.
It's got the organics,
brain. Yeah, and like when he starts to like realize that he's actually a person, but he doesn't know it still. Like you start to feel for him in a different way.
Well, it's a really weird. You feel for him, but he's so disconnected from Alex Murphy. He's got that line where he talks to family about the family, and he's like, "I can feel them, but I don't remember them." Know, so he's very much looking at it like the ghost outside of Murphy. I do want to just comment on this scene, like we were talking about how you had said the acting wasn't great. And one of the scenes where I always like kind of think of the acting's not great is when he has his dream, and like their sole job is to watch this organic robot, and he's over there like,
he's flailing around, like, which is a big clunky machine.
Like you're a scientist / doctor, and if you were like in a hospital and one of your patients is in their bed just like, and you don't notice, like he's right there, like you can't hear his mechanics, and then like he gets up and flatlines, and then she's like, "Murphy, it's you." And they yell at her, and Sarge comes in, and there's the whole and Bob's, threatening him. And she's like, "Fucked up, Sarge." And he's like, "No, he's an asshole."
That's the thing too. When she goes down to the car garage, and Murphy gets in the car and takes off, and the guy comes in and he goes, "You messed up. Come here!" And like he pushes her.
He drags her.
If that was real, and the type of position that she was in, she would have fucking beat it.
She'd have arrested him.
She would have beat his ass, regardless if he was, the boss is, whatever now. Because the OCP becomes owners of Detroit.
And that's the other thing that I don't feel that they do a good enough job in the original RoboCop is, like, establishing the fact that the police department has no choice, like, but to be these subservient, like, basically paper pushers for Omnicorp.
Yeah. Another thing, too, that you start noticing in this one is it becomes, like, SWAT team versus OCP versus Metro. So like RoboCop is Metro.
Yeah. When
OCP.
When Omnicorp calls in their crew, and next thing you know, the entire parking lot is full of them ready to murder RoboCop.
Yeah, and it's the SWAT team that's there too.
Yeah, that whole scene still holds up when Ed 209's firing rockets and the fucking walls are being blown out. That was one of those movies where because of the lower budget, the CG's not great. But they did a great job with the practical effects, trying to kind of, marry it to the CG.
Like the Ed 209 visual was garbage. I mean, now when you look at it,
See, yeah,
but back in the day, when you saw it, you're like, holy shit, this is actually something cool.
It, you know, and it talks to you, and that was the whole thing. And they don't do a great job of explaining that either, of why RoboCop. Like the reboot does a better job of explaining that, of like people want something with a soul basically. So if we can get a human or a mix of the two, a hybrid, we can kind of put people's fears at rest. That no, it's got a soul. There's a human here, and that's the whole reason why he's invented.
Yeah. But we also got multiple times where Lewis kind of comes to the rescue of RoboCop Murphy Slash.
I mean, there's the one at the end when she blows the dude out of the crane.
Yeah.
Like that's the one where she's like on the brink of death apparently. They can still shoot the sniper rocket launcher.
She also gets him out of the parking structure when they're firing on him.
Yeah, she saves his life there. Yeah.
Then they light up her fucking car as she's driving away.
As she's driving away.
Law enforcement as well.
Yeah, like she's still a cop. Like you're just gonna murder a police officer? Like what fucking West Side Story stuff is going on here?
So where were we? Yeah. So what else you got there, Anthony? Yeah, are we moving on, or we got more?
So I'm just looking at a couple of my notes that I took. I didn't take many for the first one because I've seen it so many times I haven't memorized. But I do find it funny that like throughout the drug lab scene, he's murdering people, and then he gets to Red Foreman and he's throwing him. I'm gonna call him Red Foreman. I don't give a fuck if people don't like it. He's fucking Red Foreman. But he's throwing him through the windows and he's progressively getting cut up and shit. And he's like, RoboCop's Chuck. He's like, "You're a cop," and in his screen there's nothing, and then it goes into arrest mode. Like, was he in murder mode before? Like, because there's on screen is a visual where it's like after Kurtwood Smith reminds him that he's a cop, the screen goes arrest mode. And
that's what I was talking about. He's fighting the program.
Yeah, I just remember thinking like, when there was that berserk mode that we saw where you just went into full on murder everything that fucking moves. Like now you're in arrest mode before you weren't.
They don't do a very good job in the first one of showing his conflict with his program and his humanity. They don't, not like we keep talking about the remake, but yeah.
I think that's one of the things they try to do when he visits the home is you're seeing the organic emotion kind of take over, and that's when I think that's when they really try to produce the idea of he's still human. And we'll go into it more. I do feel that the showing what Alex Murphy is without the RoboCop suit, the reboot handles much better. Because in the original, you're basically like, okay, but he feels like he's part of the machine. Like, the machine can't run without him, and he can't run without it, but it's a very unison type system. They don't go into the tribulations of him overriding it like they should, because that's what he's virtually doing. Is every time he has one of those, like his dream, is basically his psyche breaking, and that's why he goes into that flat line. The dopamine and everything builds to a certain degree, and then flatlines, and now he's back to murder/arrest mode. Let's see. Let me just check my notes. I wrote a couple things. Oh, the irony of the beginning. The coworker who tells Bob that he needs to watch his back around Dick is the one who gets blown away by Dick's creation, aka Ed 209.
Yeah.
As he's watching past Bob and Bob's talking his shit, this dude's like, "You need to watch your back around Dick, man. He's serious." And then it's the same dude that gets wasted by Ed 209.
The three in the elevator that are like sitting there next to each other.
Yeah, the close talkers.
So the only other thing is jumping back to Ed 209. So he was built as a trial run for Detroit, but was going to be for
military purposes.
But I don't understand, because that unit, Ed 209, still would have been perfectly fine for military.
Right.
So I don't understand it. Like, it doesn't make sense why him failing.
Alex and I both have a theory on this one, I think.
May I go first?
Please, yes, do, sir.
Okay.
After Lewis, though. Shut up
Yes.
for right now.
Well, no, I was gonna say it just doesn't make sense. Like the RoboCop program was good for Metro, but it still doesn't make sense why OCP is like, let's forget about this thing we were gonna do for the military and funnel millions of dollars into Tin Man. Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I think it's because the big boss wasn't really for that, and that was just Dick's project. That was Dick's contract that he was going to get. It was his, his way to move on and out because he was number two in the company, like as he says. So that's just my personal thought about how that affects the contract. Matt, your thoughts on that, or?
Yeah, I have a couple theories on it. One of them is it's just like they demonstrate it's just all about greed. So anywhere Omnicorp can get their greasy little fingers in. But I also get the feeling that like it's a ruse because they talk about it being for the military, but then later on they talk about how they're going to take over Detroit and how they have bigger plans beyond Detroit. So it's almost like that they are under the guise of we're developing military tech, but in reality, it's just them trying to develop technology to control their citizens inside their perfect version of Detroit they wanted to build, basically.
But again, that was
So-
still Dick that was saying that. It wasn't.
Oh yeah. Well, no, but
It
I mean,
wasn't
they
the-
do
it
go
wasn't
into
the boss of Omnicorp.
the sequels do go into the evils of
Yeah.
Omnicorp. Like the first movie, you don't get the feeling Omnicorp is an evil entity. You just get the piece of shit Bob and the evil Dick. You're not like Omnicorp's this evil corporation until the sequels the second one especially kind of fleshes that out.
So jumping, Bob Morton actually has a funny line when kind of the RoboCop's kind of like making his quote unquote successful bust. Kind of in the middle of the movie, Bob Morton has a line where he's like, "We're predicting the end of all crime in Detroit in the next 40 days." Doesn't make any fucking sense.
You know how much overtime RoboCop would have to put in, like 24/7.
He's a robot.
Bob is one of the most like. You don't like him. Like you don't like anybody. You slightly root for him just out of the process of not liking anybody else. But he's got the cringiest lines, like when he shakes the robot's hand, and then he almost breaks his hand, and she's like, "He can crush every bone in your hand," and like he just looks at her, and then he looks at him, and he's like, "You're gonna be a badass motherfucker." Like, that's like the '80s in it, but once again, if you want a deep dive, you are dealing with a dude who has a cocaine habit, so he's always jonesed up. So it's in line with his character. It's just, everybody in the movie has this certain bravado, and like the Bob and Dick are the same guy 30 years apart.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the thing is like Bob becomes Dick in real life. Where do you think Dick started? He started where Bob was, type thing. You know what I mean? Like, which is also, and then I love the ending where RoboCop, he's got that awesome line at the end where they drop the steel on him and he ends up killing Kurtwood Smith with his fancy unlocked tool in the throat with the spray blood. Yeah, I know I fucked up, right? The spray blood, and then like she's been shot and she's like, "Murphy," and he's like tired. You can hear RoboCop's voice. He's just like, "They'll fix you. They can fix anything." And then he goes and he moves, and like the next thing is him like, "Ah!" And then the scene cuts away with like there was always like, what the fuck? That was a weird edit.
Instead of him eating his food, to get energy, he fucking used it as target practice. Remember, she brought him baby food.
My wife pissed me off. We're watching the movie, right? And she's like, "Why would she bring him baby food?" And I paused the movie and I'm like, "You're on your phone, weren't you?" I go, "We've watched this before. It's in the first time. He eats motherfucking baby food. He's still organic." Like I gave her a whole like spiel about, don't you pay attention?
Did that take like 20 minutes to explain that?
And it's just like one little like line where dudes like taste like baby food. Like that's all it is. Like, but still, it's like I even pointed out that it was a slushy machine, and she's like, "Ha ha ha," thinking she's paying attention. Nope, just whoop, right past your fucking head.
So I think before jumping to the ending, one of the coolest death scenes in here is Paul McCrane's character when he's driving the box truck. Murphy standing in front of
Yes,
toxic
it's so good.
silo thing.
All right, his little dash, his little like,
Yeah.
he's like his little whoop, and like you see his hands go up like out of your way, like he just walks away
He walks away briskly.
as he looks at him the whole time, like his hands. I just remember his hands.
Yeah, and the like makeup effects on Paul McCrane's character when he comes out of the toxic sludge, that was also Rob Bottin from The Thing, like that kind of creature effect.
Dude, the sound he makes though.
He was like Master Splinter.
She's like walking, and like once again, my wife. It's like she's never watched it before, where she has this like, oh god reaction. Like she audibly was like, ugh. And I'm over here watching it for like the 30th, 40th, 50th time in my life, and I was like, have you not seen this before? Like, what is your problem?
Didn't he look like he was morphing into like Master Splinter from Turtles?
He doesn't look like he's melting. He looks like he's turning into like they fed
Something
him the
else.
jelly donut with the ooze in it, you know? But
And then who is it?
we all know how that ends. He fucking goes out into the roadway, and he does touch Ray Wise, and he's like, help me. And Ray Wise is like, no, get away from me, man. Like, and fucking basically pushes Swamp Thing away.
So that splatter scene where they hit him, that was like leftover food and craft services that they had for days that they
nice
threw on the car. Yeah, it's
Kurtwood.
They used to do.
Sorry, go
They
ahead.
used to do similar stuff to Toxic Avenger, like that, Tromaville. They used to do the same thing. They used to go grab craft services, food, anything that was leftovers that's moldy. They would put it in there and they would use it as part of their scenes.
And then
You
Kurtwood,
got to use what you got.
Red Foreman's reaction when he's driving the car, he says like, ah, like he doesn't care that he just vaporized one of his goons. And that goes back to the beginning of the movie where the beginning's a weird scene when Murphy meets them before they murder him, and they're just on like that long stretch of road that's like an airport, where it's just like miles of nothing that they get in a shootout, and then the one guy gets shot in the leg, and Red Foreman, can you fly, Bobby?
Can you fly, Bobby?
And then Bobby's looking at him like, huh? And then next thing you know, it tosses the motherfucker onto their windshield. And of course, Alex Murphy, to be fair, before he's Robocop, he's kind of a badass cop. He's dual-wielding pistols outside the window and shit. Like, for, a little, like, suburbanite cop, he's doing a pretty good job, considering.
Now, in the real life, if you were driving in a car and you looked over to your partner and said, give me your gun, do you think your partner would give you the gun?
no.
Not in real life.
I mean, for one thing, dual-wielding is, like, the least accurate way to fire a pistol. Like, if anybody's ever fired anything higher, like a 9mm and above, dual-wielding is not the way to do it. Like, I mean, you're better off literally letting them fire with their left hand out the side window than trying to dual-wield shit. No, I mean, those are serial numbered back to the officer, especially nowadays. So we're protesting because this murderous gang of people threw somebody out a windshield, and the police didn't stop to make sure he was okay. They just kept chasing them. Like RoboCop nowadays, like they would think of something. Like he can't be racist, so what's the new thing that like we could hate RoboCop for? Because back then, that shit's never mentioned. Not even in the reboot do they mention anything about like racial profiling or anything. It's almost like the society just accepts like, oh, now that it's a robot, it's fair and just.
There was reference to color though when he in the sequel, but or the remake. Wow,
very slightly, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I knew you were the right color, and then he's all black.
All right, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. Is there any final thoughts? I know there's probably certain things that we want to talk about, but sorry, Alex, go ahead.
One thing I did want to comment before we get to that, when he does stab Clarence in the throat.
Yeah.
The amount of blood that globs down on Robocop.
As a kid, like I'm like, did Clarence have a blood clot in his neck that you just released? Like, what happened there?
Drop a water balloon on RoboCop? Yeah.
Like, sorry, my grape juice fell out of my hand when you stabbed me in the neck.
That just goes back to the gore that we were actually okay with back then. because it didn't make a big difference to me back as a kid. Now that I watch it as an adult, I'm like, holy shit, that was a lot of blood.
But back then we made movies to entertain. Nowadays we make movies to be like, this is as close to reality as you're gonna get, bub. Like, back then it was like, we're making a movie about a human cyborg. Let's go for broke. Nowadays it's like, but this human cyborg, now would he have a conflict for killing people? Like, it's like, like they made him for it wasn't a political agenda. It was, here's a comic book that we're gonna make a movie into, and it's gonna be badass. We gotta make something to defeat Terminator at the box office. But Lewis, you got anything? I'm sorry, Alex. Was there anything more to that?
No, we could finish it out. We could round it out.
Lewis, you got anything to wrap up? RoboCop, the original, this beautiful movie.
No, I mean, it's a great film. I watching it again for the review, it did kind of sour it that the movie kind of ends, the ending like crescendo scene with the bad guys kind of, it goes by so fast, and especially when he gets to Nash and Clarence, like I don't know, I just wish there was kind of like a more drawn out like fight scene with them. It just kind of ends.
I mean, considering the movie could use more action overall.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know, great. Great film. Like I think the flaws in this movie I can overlook just because of the style and the soundtrack and just the way the RoboCop looks, and I don't know, everything about this movie definitely screams 80s, and because of that,
the era that it was made.
Yeah, I can't even knock anything off of it. Like it's just kind of stuck in a time capsule. It's the perfect like 80s sci-fi robot movie.
Well, they even figured out how to give you like I do have a little bit of a complaint of how, like, especially in the beginning, like Murphy really doesn't have any emotion. Like, as we talked about with the girl who's almost about to get raped, she's over here like, thank you, and he's like, I have notified a rape crisis center. Like, that's his reaction. And then by the end of the movie, you see Murphy's coming through more. You know, he knows Ed 209 is going to be guarding the building, so what does he do? Comically pulls out the sniper rocket launcher, shoots him a few fucking times, and he's in the building. Like, by the end of the movie, they do give you that idea of, like, okay, yes, he's RoboCop, but he's still very much Alex Murphy. You know, what he lost in his death, he's slowly kind of reclaiming it in his new life. But the emotional core of Alex Murphy, I think, is a limited subject in the movie itself. I think the only real scene you get two scenes, in my opinion, which are when he visits the house and when he has his dream. That's really what they show to demonstrate it. So I think that could have been fleshed out, but like Lewis said, I love.
Also, when he was looking up the suspects, he was kind of seeing.
Yeah, that's how he played it back and everything. And the gas station scene, I always kind of laugh at when the guy goes there, and he's like, "You a college boy? Like, you're in Detroit. You're not a fucking Texan, for one thing." And then the guy's just like shaking his head, and he's like, "Don't try anything. I'm a good shot. I'll hit you in the eye from here." And it's like, what a goofy bastard.
That's where the acting is good but bad, because he later on becomes this guy in ER that I remember as a good actor.
Okay, so funny thing about ER is you remember how they kill him off?
No, I remember when his arm got lopped off from the helicopter.
No, his arm wasn't lopped off. That's how they kill him.
He still survived.
No, but there was, like, later on, it falls on top of him. Like, the way they kill him off is he literally goes outside for a cigarette and he looks up. And I don't remember if it was like a steel crane or I thought it was a helicopter. But that's how they kill him off in ER, is something really big and heavy falls on top of him. He doesn't die good deaths in anything he does, apparently.
In ER though, his arm was cut off because he was going to the helicopter and he got close to the tail.
Yeah, that was before they killed him off. When they finally kill him off, I don't remember if it was like the helicopter falls off the roof or if it was like a crane or something fell. Mm-hmm. But I just remember the way they do it is he literally goes outside and looks up, and whatever it is falls on top of him, and he gets killed. And it's like, I remember I used to watch ER with my mom.
He was kind of a dick in ER too.
That was his character though. He was. Yeah. You got to remember, George Clooney was gone, So he had to
Yeah.
take up that kind of like I know everything kind of, and you gotta. But to be give ER credit, that character started in it. You know, those types of characters started a show like House, allowed
Yeah.
a show like Scrubs to exist.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I love House. It was good.
But yeah, you know, that's the kind of the ode to him. But final wrap up on RoboCop. Last thoughts before we give it our review.
For me.
Yeah,
Or-
we'll
yeah,
get Alex,
right.
then we'll do Lewis, and then I'll run my mouth for a second.
All right. Overall, I thought it was a great movie. Like I said, for being from the '80s when I was growing up, we keep touching all these '80s shit, and I feel like I'm really old. But
You got to start somewhere, bro.
there was no real big filter for things back then, and it was like all fresh and new. Ideas were original, and even if they were coming from comic books or whatnot. The acting, like I said, was just it was okay. It wasn't great, but there were some parts where they were really good actors, and the music was good. There was the one scene that I just gotta say something about real quick. At the end, he finally acknowledges his name. I'm Murphy. You know,
Yeah.
like it kind of like runs away, like flies.
What's
off
your
in the clouds,
name, officer?
But do you get it though? Like after all this time, like after all this shit that happened in the movie, like now he runs off in the clouds. I'm Murphy.
Yeah.
It was like one of those things. But yeah, but overall, I did enjoy the movie.
You got to remember though, back
know.
then movies weren't made with the idea of we're going to make sequels. It was let's hope this works. So they had to finalize every story.
Yeah.
Like look at Lethal Weapon 1 compared to how the other 3 connect to each other. Like Lethal Weapon 1 is like it ends. You don't expect a sequel.
But I really enjoyed it, and I don't know, I don't have more to say about it. So who's going next?
Lewis, you got anything? Any last words about it before we give it our hot dog review?
Hot dog?
Yeah, I mean, kind of same. I mean, I saw this movie at a way too young age, and it stuck with me in all the best ways. I just like the look and the feel of this movie. I do wish Peter Weller's character had a bit more humanity. I think even not going that route, if Lewis's character maybe had a bigger role, that could have kind of brought out his humanity more. But I do like the movie. I've seen all 3 of them. I only ever remember this one. And like Matt said, this is a movie that I watch multiple times a year. So I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, it's a movie that when we talked about reviewing it, like I literally didn't have to watch it, but I wanted to watch it. Just a side note, the 4K transfer is really good on it. It's clean. There's not much. There's no digital interference. There's not much. There's not like really any static. It's a good transfer. Like it holds up really well.
I spent 99 cents to watch the movie, and I own it.
You gotta watch it in the best quality, man. All right, so let's give our hot dog reviews for this one. I mean, I'm gonna go first, and it's no surprise. I'm assuming it's a 5, baby. 5, not just 5 delicious hot dogs. These are foot-long Viennas, baby. Celery salt, the whole works. One of my favorite movies of all time. Eventually, we're gonna get to the point where we do my entire top 10 list. But yeah, one top, easily top 10, potentially
It's
top.
gonna be like in 2 of your top 10.
It's easily top 10. It's potentially top 5. So, Alex, how many hot dogs do you give this movie?
Only because of acting areas, I'm gonna give it 4.5. 4.5 dogs. That's just me, and like I said, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
you can be wrong. That's okay.
All right. And I'm gonna keep the celery salt off because I can't have any of that salt shit on me. It's already enough nitrates in there.
Celery salt. Stop drinking beer for a couple days. You can afford it, you prick. Sorry, Liz. How many hot dogs would you give it? Celery salt included. Damn it.
Oh man, I have nostalgia tinted glasses, so if I could give it a 10, I would. But I'm gonna go with a 5.
Yeah, I think it's if it's not obvious by the fact that we've taken so much time to talk about an 80s movie that's an hour and 40 minutes long. But yeah, so there you have it. We're going to now move on to our second feature.
All right, so our second feature of the night is the Robocop remake. This came out in 2014. It was February 12th, 2014. Runtime of 118 minutes.
Too
this
short.
Had a very short. This had a budget of 130 million. The box office, it made 242.6 million. So by today's
Big difference.
standards, this film was actually technically a failure by
Yeah.
today's standards. Which, if you think about it, the first RoboCop film also wasn't. It was considered a box office failure.
It wasn't a glowing success.
No,
It became a
no.
cult classic, though.
It did. This film was directed by Jose Padilla. I might be butchering that name. He hasn't really done any big American films. This was probably kind of his big ticket. A lot of upcoming directors, it's kind of common practice now to give kind of a nobody director a big film to see if that takes off. A lot of superhero films do that as well. Now this has a pretty good cast. You have Joe Kinnaman as Alex Murphy.
Excellent cast.
Yes. You have Gary Oldman as Dennett Norton. He works for Omnicorp. He's one of the chief scientists. You have Michael Keaton, Batman, aka Beetlejuice himself, as Raymond Sellers, the CEO of Omnicorp, I guess replacing the quote-unquote old guy. You have Abby Cornish as Alex's wife, Jackie Earle Haley of Watchmen and Nightmare on Elm Street fame as Rick Maddox. He's kind of this expert tactician
Asshole.
who works with Omnicorp. Yeah, he's not a very likable guy. That's kind of the main cast. You have some kind of also known people. Jay Bershaw's in this movie for some reason.
Yeah, this was kind of like when they were trying to insert him wherever they could.
Didn't we cover him in a previous episode or no? Or was
Yeah,
that
because
just...
he directed, or he didn't he direct? He directed a movie I watched that's on Shudder. Random Acts of Violence. If you get a chance,
Oh, so we talked about it. We talked about it.
If you get a chance to check it out, watch something else.
Yeah. So this film was originally planned in 2011, and it was originally going to be directed by Darren Aronofsky, who did Requiem for a Dream and Mother. This would have been a weird film had he been directed.
Definitely.
And this movie kind of fell practice to development hell for a while. And they... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
You did forget to mention Sam Jackson is in this. Samuel L. Jackson.
I did. Samuel Jackson is in this movie. He plays Pat Novak of this...
Great fucking hair. Great fucking hair.
Mockumentary show called The Novak Element, which I'll touch on that in a little bit. I won't go over basic premise because it's basically a carbon copy of the first film with kind of its own unique takes on it. So from there, I guess we could jump into non-spoiler thoughts. So this movie is, I think this movie it's good. It's not great. It really suffers from not being rated R. And I think in that aspect, this movie came out in 2014. We're recording this in 2020, where R-rated movies have now gotten a second wind. Within the last couple of years, you can make an R-rated movie, and it can make money.
Well, I mean, I think you can kind of give credit, a lot of credit for that to like Deadpool.
Yeah.
You know, being able to come out as a rated R superhero movie and with that level of gratuity and the violence and the language and whatnot, and still be able to be a huge success. I think now more than ever. You know, you used to have movies like Superbad would come out. It was like, oh my God, teenagers played by 30-year-olds. Now you have movies like Good Boys coming out, where it's like teenagers played by teenagers doing, you know, foul-mouthed stuff. But it's also, you got to remember, back in the 80s, like, they were ready for that gore. That's what they wanted. You're fighting against Die Hard and Predator and Lethal Weapon and Terminator and every other franchise you can think of, every Steven Seagal, Hard to Kill, like
A lot of violence and
yeah,
all a lot of
the 80s was the era of violence. I think the difference is now, with technology and all that, the violence can be so much more graphic.
The late 70s and early 80s was also for gratuity, violence, and nudity for
Yeah.
horror movies.
Yeah, big. I mean, and that was back when horror movies went for shock value.
Well, that's something that we either in the first when we were talking about RoboCop, there was a scene where there was full frontal or top frontal
in the
girl-
nightclub.
Because, no, in the locker room for the police. Because
Yeah, but
locker rooms were shared.
yeah, you got to remember. And like I do,
It falls into Super Troopers. Or no, I'm sorry,
Starship Troopers?
Starship Troopers. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah, with Paul Verhoeven's view of the future was very much it was going to be a co-ed dystopia
Like
type
mesh
thing.
things,
yeah, that comes through all of his movies, except for Total Recall. Total Recall stays away from any sort of. There's no real political agenda as far as the gender
just the
roles
triple
are
breast.
concerned.
Just triple breast, right?
Yeah, and with the original RoboCop, you do have the nightclub scene where you could tell there were the people in the 80s who were doing cocaine figured that, what I see in the nightclubs right now is, these punk rockers, and they got like nipple rings, and that like the writer took that and was like, we need to have some tits in a punk rock nightclub in the future with laser beams, and they filmed it. But sorry, Lewis, go ahead. See, I told you, we just said it. There's so much shit to talk about.
It's blame it on RoboCop. No, but I do think had this movie waited till at like late 2017, 2018, I think you can bump it up just to an R, not even a hard R, and that this movie could have it could have been more than it was. I think as far as actors, Joel Kinnaman and Gary Oldman steal the show. Gary Oldman's Dr. Norton, I don't know, his character even more than Joel, makes this movie. The acting is awesome. You also have damn it, what's his partner's name? Michael K. Williams, who's awesome in almost pretty much everything he's in. I think of Boardwalk Empire, everything.
You can call him Omar.
Yeah, or Chalky White. Too.
Yeah, like I love him as Chalky, but I watched The Wire. I watched The Wire after I watched Boardwalk Empire, so I went into it like, oh shit, Chalky's in this, and you go to watch it, and then you realize Omar is this fucking shotgun-toting psychopath, and it's like, fuck, Omar's awesome.
I don't know. I like this movie. Like I said, good, not great. I think it stumbles in the later half of the movie. I think the beginning up to where you see Alex's transition into his new body and kind of the emotional toll it takes on him. Like you get what's missing from that first film. You really get his sense of losing himself and his emotions.
It's about emotionality.
Yeah. And man, there's so many scenes I want to describe, but I don't want to jump into spoilers. I think it's a good film. I think it could have benefited from the R rating, and it wouldn't have even had to been as gratuitous as the first film. But I think it's good. The cast is awesome. There's interesting choices the director made in this film compared to the original. I think one thing that does not sit well for me with this film is the parody of the first film's kind of broadcast TV show that's going on. I think it's kind of janky with Samuel Jackson's character. But Matt, I will throw it to you. What are your non-spoiler thoughts on this movie?
Just touching on the news thing real quick, I 100% agree because the original, it's basically your nightly news. And in the reboot, they do it more like a Hannity or a Tucker Carlson or an Anderson Cooper. Like it's a cable news, big-time, wide audience host. like a Bill O'Reilly type character. And I agree. I would have much preferred it being just local newscasters giving you the news with like no emotion behind it, like they were. That was the whole thing about the original newscast, is the dudes are making jokes about like, today in Sri Lanka 300 were killed in a mudslide, and then she makes a witty quip. And in this one it's just Sam Jackson doing his best job emulating like a right-wing pundit, basically. The more times I watch it, the more I like it. I haven't really liked it up until last time I watched it was recently, and I like it more. I think the not being rated R is a misstep. It's a misstep I can forgive if other pieces of the puzzle were together. But still, I think if you had if you didn't have to worry about pigeonholing yourself into a PG-13 rating, I think the creative juices would have been able to flow a little bit better. I think you would have had less of him fighting robots and more of him fighting people. So I think there was some missteps, and I wish there was more action. However, there's a fair amount of action in it. There's about 4 or 5 set pieces. I think this movie, in every way, does a better job than the original in connecting Alex Murphy to the outside world, as opposed to, it without going too deep, it does delve into his psyche and the emotion, and even though he's a machine, he's still got organic limits that can break him. And they actually, that's a lot of what the movie's about, is basically, breaking Alex Murphy down so he can become Robocop. I don't like the coloring of the suit. I think some of the suit's okay. I don't like it. The end, when they kind of double back at the end of the movie, then you kind of get it's like an Easter egg at this point, because they're never going to make a fucking sequel. I love Joel Kinnaman. I think he's a great actor. Altered Carbon Season 1 is a great season if you have never watched it. I like him a lot. I liked him as Alex Murphy. I don't know who you would have caught, who you'd been able to really get in there to pull off that kind of stone cold face demeanor. One thing I will say, I do like how they explore the differences in the body build of Robocop. From the reboot, he's a much more slender, and in the original he's much more thick and chunky and kind of on a general axis. And I feel like in the reboot, basically he could do everything besides climb vertically up a wall. You know what I mean? Like, he was just kind of really versatile.
He's got some verticals though. He can jump.
Yeah, and I do like how they explored that more, is that, not to go into too much, but at some point when he's first trying to, basically being awoken from what he is, he tries to escape, and he calculates that jump and the exact angle he needs to be. Yeah, when they shut him down. I also found the whole Chinese thing interesting.
Yeah.
Which gives you that idea that Omnicorp is global. If they've got giant factories in China, that they're spread out pretty wide.
They have more, what is it called? Lenience or more?
Yeah, less regulations. Yeah.
Less regulation.
I mean, it is an all-star cast, though. I mean, you guys didn't mention somebody. Did nobody else notice that the scientist lady is George Lopez's niece in the George Lopez show?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking big guns here, people.
I believe her name is Amy Garcia. I think that's what.
But
it is.
but for real, you Gary Oldman, Freddy Krueger, you got Joe Kinnaman. The wife's name I can't remember, but she's pretty well known. It's got Michael Keaton. You got fucking Batman. You got Jay Baruchel for comic relief. Like, you got
even the chief Marine. What's his name? Marine Jean. She's been in things too.
That wasn't CCH Pounder, was it?
No.
Okay, I didn't think so.
Big difference. This lady's a lot shorter.
Yeah, I don't know. And that's what's kind of frustrating about this movie, is all of the pieces were right, but the puzzle didn't fit together quite right. You got a great cast, you've got a decent budget, you've got everybody behind you wanting a good RoboCop movie, and you worry about a PG-13 rating. Some of the set pieces were a little limited. It was just, it's frustrating because the culmination could have been better than what you got. But I do like it. Alex, spoiler free, amigo.
All right, spoiler free. I did like that it was a little bit more serious. To me, it was a remake, so there were two separate movies. I like that they were able to get a little bit more bigger actors, for this, because back then you didn't always cast big actors.
Mm-mm.
You just went with what was given to you. There was a big difference in how Detroit looked versus RoboCop original versus RoboCop now. It didn't seem like it was that bad in this version of it, right? It wasn't that bad. Crime was bad, but the city still looked fucking perfect.
Yeah, they literally only had 2 square miles they could film in downtown Detroit that wasn't on fire.
And I loved how they did a throwback to the music for the original. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah, it's a good remix of it.
Yeah, and that was all pretty cool. Some of the things that I can't go into because it's just spoiler free, but there was like a lot of things that kept going. One of the things I did like when it opened, and you hear, I don't know if you guys know. I just gotta say that the lion is supposed to be the lion. I had to play that like 4 times to figure out what the hell was going on.
You talking about the MGM Grand logo?
Yeah, and then he's doing vocal warm ups.
Yeah.
All right, so that all right. So we can move on, man, because I can't do anything else. I can't say no more about this without being spoiler.
You know what, Alex? I want you to spoil this bitch for us. I want you to take us into it hard.
All right, so you open up with Sam Jackson talking about how he wants to have these robots being brought in, and
yeah, he presents both sides. So you got Batman on one end, who is pro, and you got the guy from Problem Child 2 is a senator who's against robots, basically unmanned robots patrolling the city streets.
And then he calls that senator robophobic, and I was like, whoa! I was like, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I'm robophobic of my microwave.
But the scene that starts out with Murphy and Lewis, with Lewis is now a guy, and they're
Just for reference, the character's name is not Lewis, isn't it? Like John?
Well, no, it's Jack Lewis.
Jack Lewis. It's Jack Lewis.
Lewis turned into a guy. I don't know what the fuck happened.
We're going by Alex Murphy. I call him Murphy, and I'm going to call Lewis Lewis. So I'm
his partner, Chalky White.
Omar, when did you get here?
Continue.
But, they're trying to go into a little bust and trying to get somebody caught and incriminate the guys, and they get tipped off and they have their little fight scene in there. One thing that kind of threw me off was when Alex was like, all right, I'm gonna make the move for it. I'm gonna get the guy with the gun. I'm gonna get the guy with the Uzi or whatever, the machine gun, and he goes and runs for the window, and he busts through the window, right? And then then Lewis gets up and he starts running, and instead of going through Murphy should have went through the window that was already open, but he went through the window that was closed
behind the dumpster,
and, like, busted that out. And then Lewis went through the same window and he got shot. Yeah, that was some good stuff there.
I do think when he pushes the dumpster and like kills the 2 guys behind it, that is a pretty badass thing to do.
But that dumpster moves so easy. Have you ever tried moving a dumpster?
Joe Kinnaman's built, bruh.
No, he wasn't RoboCop yet.
He's ripped, bruh.
This franchise has a thing against windows, though, if you notice, in the first film plus this one.
Yeah, throwing Kurtwood Smith through him. I work for Dick Jones! He's OCP! Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
No, that's fine. One thing I did enjoy about this movie was they did show a little more in-depth stuff about how Murphy moves on. How after all this stuff happens, Lewis ends up in the hospital. because he was shot there, and Murphy's feeling guilty because his partner was shot, but he's not dead, so he's gonna make his recovery, right? One of the things is that they set up.
He's gonna make
They
his
set up
recovery,
the-
right?
No, I'm just giving right.
Right.
Because Lewis doesn't die yet. No, or
Wait,
does he? No, he
spoiler alert, jeez.
doesn't. Well, this is spoiler free now, isn't it?
Not anymore.
No, but the part where they call up and they say that they want Murphy dead, because he's part of it and he's at the hospital, and the guy shows up and he plants the bomb in the car. Something that you rarely see in movies, as far as detail, is you never see you just see a car blowing up, but you don't see who plants the bomb. You don't see anything like that. I don't know if you ever noticed that in movies. I believe in Lethal Weapon it happens a few times where the car just they go up and they open the door and boom, there's an explosion, stuff like that. I like that they kept up with little details like that. And you guys saying it was too short. I think it was for being this short of a movie they did cover. There was no big holes for me. You guys might think different.
There's no big holes. I mean, one of my issues is one of the coolest action scenes in the movie they waste on him going after other robots.
That's
What?
because
Oh,
there was no R rating. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. They
robot.
do the training scene where fucking Freddy Krueger's like, if you get a shot on me, you can get a ticket to go home. And so he fights this entire fucking warehouse of robots, and they use that scene to explain, because one of the things is after his partner's shot, they were undercover. They realized that the guns that they're trying to buy have serial numbers attached to weapons that should have been in the police lockup. They suspect these other two police officers of being corrupt, and that's basically who is tipping off the main villain, Val they called him. He's the main villain in this one, and he's a nasty dude, but nowhere near as nasty as Kurtwood Smith.
Bitches leave.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, Kurtwood Smith walks in and like he's eating a fucking slice of pepperoni, pulls a pin out of a grenade. And over here, this guy's like worried his hair is going to get messed up because the Robocop's coming. But yeah, sorry, Alice, go on.
No, what you were saying about the scene with the robots and stuff, and he makes it through all the fighting, like shooting all the robots and stuff, and he gets to Jackie Earle Haley, and he goes, "What happens if I
tase an asshole in an exosuit?"
He's an asshole in an exosuit. It's like, I don't know. I think we're all willing to find out.
Yeah. There is charm to the movie.
Yeah, there's like redeeming points throughout the movie. I don't want to move too far ahead, but there was like how they rebuilt him and how they went into the detail of what they used and what they kept. His brain wasn't that great, so they had to use pieces of other brains, and they kept his lungs, his throat, and his hand. I still didn't see how his hand connects to the rest of the body, but
it was basically so. There's the scene where he's trying to come to terms with the fact that he's a robot, and they strip away all the pieces of him that are not organic.
He asked to see the real stuff.
They do a better job in this one as opposed to the original, because you see that he's literally a head, an esophagus, one hand, and lungs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty jarring scene too.
And I did like that stuff about this movie, and like I said, they took it a little more serious, and I don't know if you guys appreciated that, but I did.
Yeah, it's also like one of those movies where you watch it and you're just expecting Gary Oldman to be a piece of shit at some point, and he never is. Like, archetypally, the doctor is the one who ends up being like a total piece of garbage, and he's always on Murphy's side. He's always trying to get the wife to be able to see him. Like, Gary Oldman's character is truly a good person in this movie, which was kind of a big juxtaposition between everybody else in the movie.
So who wants to go next? I apologize.
I'll go.
All right, Lewis, go ahead.
So, man, it's hard to not compare this movie to the first one, but there are things I'll point out that kind of just are weird to me. So Samuel L. Jackson's character Pat Novak, who has the Novak Element TV show, it doesn't fit for me, and to the point of this movie feeling, I don't know if it could feel more gritty than the first one, but feeling more realistic and more tonal wise, more heavy, because you have Alex's character who actually has that arc of, you know, feeling like he's losing his humanity. I don't think that Novak element fits. I think it's too much of an homage to the first one. I think if you scrap that, and also the montage training scene, which I don't think it works. Also, um, it would be fine. I don't like when movies have music in them for just the sake of having music.
As the
Um,
the tempo to beat the action too.
yeah, I think that's just it's
You didn't like If He Only Had a Brain, The
no.
Wizard of
I
Oz?
I think it doesn't fit. Um, it just doesn't work. Jackie Earle Haley's character is kind of cool as the dipshit,
Mm-hmm.
but so so here's one thing I noticed watching this movie. So Alex Murphy gets not spaghetti, I guess, fried. His
Yeah,
death scene. His
grilled.
death scene to me is lame.
Yeah, I agree. I do like the
So
fact that he recreates it and walks through it though.
yeah, but this movie has some weird elements to the plot where the voice of reason is um, Gary Oldman's character, Dr. Norton.
Yeah.
Um, they want to uh, have something for the American people. They want to have human instinct inside a robot. So they spend over $2 billion to rebuild Alex Murphy so he is a human in a robot. And Dr. Norton tells him multiple times, like, you wanted this, and now you're getting pissed off because he has delayed reactions when killing people because he has that human element. So
Yeah.
after spending over $2 billion, they're like, let's just make him more like a robot. And
Yeah, there's
even
that scene where
yeah,
he bottoms him out with dopamine and I do like that scene. I don't know why, but the idea of I think it's so badass that he just walks past his family and he's not concerned about anything but scanning the crowd for anybody who's got a crime.
And his son.
Yeah, he scanned his partner scans him. I did appreciate that when they do bottom him out and make it all make him more robot than man, the consequences are shown heavy. Sorry, go ahead.
oh no, yeah, I do. It's just from a plot standpoint, it's weird. And then Jackie Earle Haley's character in the beginning and in the training scene has almost like this prototype exosuit. Why didn't CP just fund money into making exosuits? Because
Yeah.
if you think about them making RoboCop, it was kind of a waste because they had essentially wanted him to be a robot after being human.
But that touches
Uh,
on your point from before, where what they were doing as far as their military work was unclear. In this
Yeah,
one, it opens up to where the cyborgs have already been used for military. And I think if they would have kept the kind of tempo of that opening scene, as far as action heavy, intense, you would have had a much more successful movie. I think one of the things this movie kind of is a small downfall is the lulls it allows it to have.
yeah.
You try to create character development, but at the same time, you kind of make the movie go to a crawl in certain points.
I
Yeah,
think
and
at this
that's
point, I'm sorry I'm sorry, but I think at this point though, people were already to the point where you're remaking this movie. You're remaking this movie. Really? Why are you doing this? I think people were just not wanting to watch a remake of something. I think that's what happened with this
well, and
movie.
no, and I agree, but also this movie has points in it where it wants to latch onto the first one, and it's at a crossroad. It's like either you have to pick one way. It's like, are we gonna keep
Yeah.
throwing back to the first one, or are we gonna be our own thing? And looking into this film, the director, I don't know if it was MGM that was giving him trouble, but a lot of the things he wanted to do in this film, he got shot down. So it it'd be cool in an alternate universe to see what his version of this film would be, because for all we know,
Snyder cut.
he could have tried doing something clean slate, totally different, and the studio might have stepped in and said like, no, we want the Samuel Jackson, like, kind of referencing the old movie. We want these bits and pieces that kind of reference the old movie. So I don't know. This film really could have went both ways. I think it tried to straddle the line a little bit too much in the middle. And like Matt said, there's a lot of lulls in this movie that just kind of, there's just not much happening in, there's not enough set pieces in this movie to kind of keep the momentum going for me. I do really like Michael Keaton as the head CEO guy.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
anytime he talks higher, like at a certain octave, all I hear is Beetlejuice, though.
Talking to a dead guy.
Yeah, if he's yelling, all I hear is Beetlejuice. I also agree with Matt. I did not like the suit in this movie. I did not like it. I think even the like running movements, it just looks so wonky. I don't know, but I'll throw it to you, Matt, if you want to throw your spoiler thoughts in.
So a couple things. I'm trying to. I had a reflection off of what you said. I'm trying to remember what it was. I liked the movie, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. And I think part of that is because the cast is so good, because Joel Kinnaman's a good RoboCop, because Gary Oldman really is the soul of the movie. At the consequence of that, though, is like half of his lines, he's talking in like this sort of panicked way. Like throughout the whole movie, he's like, but that's okay. Michael Keaton's great in it. I do like how they go into how he's basically solving his own murder, because what they do is they upload the entire database to him, and they give him connections to every CCTV camera out there, and he's literally, and I do appreciate the choice of giving him a motorcycle instead of a cop car.
Yeah, versus car.
That was a badass motorcycle.
Because then he can work alone instead of having a partner.
Yeah, and he's just sleeker. It makes more sense. I mean, you're a calculated cyborg who needs to travel quick. It's either this or a fucking helicopter.
How does he arrest people, though? Back to the first.
It's like Red Dead Redemption, where you just leave him on the road and you assume somebody comes and gets him. Up. Exactly. Yeah. The NPC
horse
gets
and carriage
him.
comes by later.
And this is fast forwarding to the ending a little bit, but I do like how they handle the him versus the Ed 209 scene. It's a very intelligently thought out battle, because he goes under the Ed 209 and he's using one for cover as he's shooting at the other ones.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good scene. They show him blow his own arm off to escape because he's trapped under one that falls on him.
It also shows the intelligence between the two. I apologize. It'll show the intelligence between the two.
Yeah, the other robots, literally it says "Do not fire, property of Omnicorp," and they're still shooting the shit out of each other trying to get them. Mm-hmm. And in that scene too, it's demonstrated the difference between man and machine, because literally his partner Lewis gets back to him at this point, stands in front of the Ed 209s, and they can't fire a shot. Meanwhile, because they're controlled by boundaries to which he's breaking. I like the scene, and this one has that same breaking point as the first one, which is him going back to the house.
Yeah.
And that's where the emotional distress, because he basically, when they upload the database to him, it's such a shock to the system, and he's absorbing all these crimes, and he has a mental break. And they're forced to kind of bottom him out and make him more robot than man. And he basically meets his wife again. So that scene in the original where she's like, "Murphy, it's you," is the same scene when his wife meets him outside the police station, when Gary Oldman's like, she wants to see him, she's going to talk to the press, and they're like, "Well, I'll put a gag order on her before I allow that," and he's like, "You better hurry." And she's in the parking lot talking to him, and that's the same scene. It's just the wife instead of the partner brings him back, because at that point she talks about the son not being able to go to school, and he starts looking at the CCTV footage of the kid getting harassed and all the bullshit they're going through. And I do like how they handle him going to the home and recreating the actual murder. And rather than him having that weird pucker-lipped face look, he's just got a blank fucking, like he sees the sun in the window, and he's got his visor down. There's no emotion to it, even though you know he's like exploding on the inside, because he's literally they talk about how he's rewiring his brain as he's doing it.
That's why he was so good in that Netflix original, the Carbon.
Yeah, oh yeah, he was. Have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched the first. I watched 3/4 of the first season. Yes.
Yeah, he's really good in that show. He's a good actor in general.
But I liked him. I liked him in that series. Yeah.
But you know, because we're gonna compare him in a minute, but the rated R holds it back the most. The action's okay. I do really like the end result of between him and the villain Val, when he basically wipes out it's, you know, I do wish it would have been full lit. I don't know how I feel about the thermal vision being the choice. I think that is a consequence of not having rated R. I think had it been rated R, you could have been full lit, blood going, blood flowing, you know what I mean? It'd have been a bloodbath.
That was one of my questions about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was a limitation of rating. I do like the fact that he has a pistol that is lethal and non-lethal, and he's got a fucking Uzi.
Yeah.
Like, those are his two weapons, and they're awesome. And, you know, when he finally catches up to Val, and he unloads the entire clip on him. Like, they show the night vision shot of him shooting Val, and the body's bend down, and he just holds it down. And that is a really cool artistic shot, because it's literally just the muzzle flash is lighting him in his visor as he fucking wastes every bullet he has into this dude who killed him. And then, of course, it leads into the corruption of the other cops, and there's by the end of the movie, Alex Murphy, or Robocop is more Alex Murphy than he is Robocop, much like the original. Like I said, there's the lull. Like, the beginning takes far too long to get into. They spend far too much with him in China being manufactured. I do appreciate the one line where he's talking to his partner, and he's like, "Welcome home, man. Did you see the family?" And he's like, "My home is in a lab across the street. I'm not there right now." Which is very realistic. It's almost like Marine type realistic, where it's like, no, our home is together right here. Like, don't matter back there.
That's what I liked about this too, is that they kept him kind of still human throughout the entire thing. It wasn't like where he was Murphy from the original, where he was just like a program.
Yeah.
I did that. So I like that they kept him, still with the same. He had to deal with it, with the process of becoming this guy, becoming RoboCop and stuff.
Well, yeah, he has the line where he asks to see himself how he really is in front of the doctor, and then he tells him, he's like, "Put me back. I never want to see myself like this. I never want my wife and son to see myself like this."
Yeah.
Yeah, he goes from basically like, "Just kill me right now." And I like how Oldman has that line where he's like, "Let's say I did, and I'm a doctor. That'd be really hard for me to do, but let's say I did. What would we tell your family?" And you have him basically be like, just kill it, just kill me. And when he convinces him, it goes from "kill me now" to "this is who I am. I'm never going to be like this. I will never see myself like this again." It's a fucked up scene, though. For a PG-13 movie, it's a rough scene.
That was like that was a very emotional scene, and that's where he breaks out and starts running and ends up springing over the wall of the Omnicorp and realizes he's in China.
So when he sees himself, he's tearing up, and the only thing I could think of, like, he's got tears running down his cheek. The only thing I could think of is, like, you put $2 million into this dude. He's $2 billion. He's a hand, lungs, and an esophagus, and oh fuck! I lost my train of thought on that one.
$2 billion.
And you wasted $2 billion.
No, but you couldn't just. Why did you leave his tear ducts?
Yeah.
Why did you leave? He doesn't need lubrication in the eyes. They're not going to dry out. Why did you leave tear? Why can you? He's a fucking robot. Why did you leave him being able to cry? Like, the most useless. Like, give him back his nuts or something. You just made him cry. Like, you kidding me? His death scene is so. Like, the death scene sucks, but then when they're talking about how badly damaged he is and they have the photo of him in the hospital bed, that's much better than the actual death scene, or the actual, like, him getting hurt scene. Because when you see him in the hospital bed and he's missing a leg and he's missing this and he's all wrapped up, it's like, fuck.
It's a different time. It's a different time from the 80s violence versus
No,
the
no,
now
no.
violence.
Consequence
It
of
is.
PG-13 bullshit.
It is.
It's consequence of politics trying to reach the larger kiddie audience, so you can't do a violent death scene. When you compare the original's death scene to this one, it's literally like Murphy gets ripped apart by shotgun fire, and he goes boom, boom, and that's it. Get the fuck out of here. Like, that's the problem. Like with these, we have to appeal to the wider audience. These young kids don't even know who fucking Robocop is. They don't give a shit.
That's why this movie it suffers from that not having an R rating.
I'll put it this way right now: if there was Neil Blomkamp was rumored, but then he left the project. Now somebody else is rumored to be handling the RoboCop reboot if they do it. You're not making a fucking RoboCop for 15-year-olds. You're making a RoboCop for people who are 32 to 45. It's the fucking truth. That's who your target audience is. Because no kid cares who RoboCop is. Because they're going to go look at the original and go, what the fuck is this? The Fortnite crowd can't appreciate it. They'll look at the reboot and go, what is this? This was so-so movie. So it's like, that's the problem is they got to stop trying to remake movies based upon what they think 15-year-olds are going to be into. What YouTube can catch on. Like, I'm getting real tired of it. And this movie's a perfect example. The biggest issue is the rating. If they wouldn't have had that concern about keeping it, kiddie friendly, there was a lot of things they could have done with it. I have notes.
You want to break into comparisons or?
Yeah, man, I'm ready to get into comparisons. So bad.
Let me just double check my notes real quick. Great actors, not enough action. Why did they keep tear ducts? The drug lab scene. I appreciate them like throwing that in there, but it was short. It was kind of just whatever.
I didn't like that he was on his motorcycle for most of that scene.
It's just a weak ass scene. The guy ends up taking himself out with a grenade, which looks suspiciously like the grenade from the original, like it was a throw, like Easter egg. But it did not live up to the originals at all. I appreciate them like giving the homage, but do it better. All right, so let's give ratings, and then we'll get into the ratings or comparisons first, gentlemen.
Probably ratings.
All right, so I'll start it off. We're gonna go quick on this one. RoboCop remake, you're gonna get. I'll give it a 3 out of 5. 3 Chicago hot dogs out of 5. Alex, what did you give it?
I'm gonna go with you on this one. 3. Yeah, 3. 3 works for me.
Lewis?
I'm going 3.5. I'll be gracious.
Fair enough. All right, so
I did like the movie though, so I mean, just saying.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just when you're comparing it to something that's a childhood classic or a childhood memory movie, it's hard not to, Lewis, give us some comparisons.
Okay, I'm gonna jump back to the suit.
The
suit in the remake has a very like insectoid, like anime kind of aesthetic to it, which looks cool, but it doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't have that clunkiness that the first movie has. It like even his movements, they feel more fluid, which I think because it's a remake and it's our now modern idea of technology like that, I guess that works. But his suit, to me, it blends in too much with the robots already in the remake. Like it's just all one color. That's what it feels like. It's not unique. And I really don't like the way RoboCop moves in the remake. I don't like the way he runs. I think it looks weird.
Well, you know what the reasoning is, right? Why it's all tied together. It's because they Iron Manned him. He wore a headpiece and had a green screen suit on the whole movie. So they didn't add any texture to him. It's all a bullet. He never wears a physical fucking suit. And by the way, designing RoboCop to look like a stealth bomber is the dumbest fucking thing. It's just, it looks stupid. Because that's what it is. It looks like a stealth bomber wing.
Well, I mean, that also speaks to the 80s because they made, I believe it's 5 or 6 suits. Peter Weller had to wear that suit in the scenes, jumping back to the first movie, in the scenes in the nightclub, that anytime RoboCop had the visor on, that was Peter Weller in the suit, and he could barely fucking see. But again, even like his movement in the original was so limited that it just gives this clunkiness to him. Again, it's when I think of like a RoboCop, I think of that first suit, and there's even like an homage to the original suit.
At the end, they give you a taste. You give you a taste of what it should have looked like. Like literally, they make the move. In the beginning, how before he's like, let's go with black. There's that.
The first character shows him the like one slide.
Yeah, but the end
party scene, RoboCop.
Yeah.
But the ending
was kind of like almost there.
The ending of the movie is where you see the classic style, where it's a little bit bulkier. It's still sleek, but it's got coloring. And that pisses me off. It's like, hey, we know we shit on the suit the whole movie and made it something you didn't like, but here, for the last 10 seconds of the movie, enjoy.
I think the reason why they did that was because they thought there was going to be a sequel.
Yeah, it's sequel.
I think that's why it happened.
That's the thing, though. They got to stop making movies like that because that means you gave me 40 fucking minutes of origin before any action starts happening, really, besides the shootout.
Would you rather have them start it and then give you an origin prequel later, like what they did with
No.
X-Men?
You do what you do what Dredd did. You ignore the bullshit origin and you go directly into his character now. You give him 20 minutes of Alex Murphy dead, blah blah blah, but you don't focus, half the movie on him being in China. Like that's the big thing is like it's supposed to be Detroit. And I've got half of the movie, RoboCop is in a Chinese lab. Like, the whole thing is, like, you're test marketing RoboCop on Detroit. Why the fuck is he in China? I didn't like that at all. Sorry, Lewis, go ahead.
Oh, so I'll just make 2 comparisons, and I'll let you guys get some. So the second one, the Novak element versus the, like, splices of commercials in the first film, as well as the news broadcasts. The first film easily takes it. I mean, if you're gonna add kind of some humor and levity to it, like definitely go that route. Otherwise, just remove it in the second film. It doesn't make any sense. The character doesn't fit at all. And the like all that time, each time it panned back to Samuel L. Jackson and his like mock TV show. We could have that could have been more set pieces, that could have been fleshing out any of the characters more. It
could have been RoboCop busting criminals and small little action set pieces that they go into instead.
Exactly, and that's why I think this movie, and it could be the director struggling with the studio, is at a crossroads of like, do we keep wanting to follow in the footsteps of the first film, or do we do our own thing? And I kind of wish they would have done their own thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would make the argument that they follow in the footsteps, but they don't do it. The problem is they don't do it well. Like everything, if you're gonna do the same thing over again, do it over again. Don't make everything a fucking homage. All right, I shouldn't have to Easter egg my way to the connections between the two. Like maybe a little bit of fan service would help. You know what I'm saying? But the other thing is, this movie, something it really it does the same structure. You've got the sub-villain, and then you've got the main villain who ends up being Batman. Val, the villain who kills him, is a terrible bad guy. Like, compared to Kurtwood Smith and his merry, band of murderers, like, like, you don't get any scope of the guy's power besides, oh, you work for Val? And it's just like, he's a very wasted bad guy to the point where, like, you don't hate him. They don't paint him as like I said, in the original, the rap sheet, they paint him as this murderer. He fucking rips apart Alex Murphy, and in this one, it's just like he ordered him to be killed. Like they don't build the villain well enough at all. At all. And that's
The more you talk about it, you say you liked it every time you see it, but it doesn't sound like it.
I do, but if I'm comparing the two, I'm going to point out everything that I find wrong with one or the other. Like I said, I feel like the new one did a better job exploring the emotional aspect. I feel it did a better job exploring the like him going back to the home. It wasn't as cheesy.
So
go ahead.
So we're all recommending there should be a third remake of this and incorporate all the two elements of both.
I mean,
movies.
here's the thing: if you're gonna do,
third remake.
they're supposed to be, they're supposed to be setting up for it. But if you're gonna make it, you really have to, in my opinion, go the Dread route, where you make it a violent and gritty and fast-paced. No, it's gotta be fast-paced. That's the problem. Is this movie slowed down too much? If you would have, I mean, look, realistically, you give a movie where you have more than one scene of Robocop on the streets. Like, they're literally showing in one clip gang wars on the streets where they're shooting at each other. You mean to tell me you couldn't done a couple scenes where Robocop's going through the cities? Like, besides when he's tracking down his own murderers, assailant, or known people? Like, I don't know. I think there's certain things it does do better. The suit's not better. I like Joe Kinnaman. There's more heart to this one in general. But once again, I would have given up some of the heart for more violence. Like if they remake it again, it's got to be gritty. RoboCop is not a nice movie. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be clean. This movie was very clean. Alex, you got any more comparisons?
Not a lot. I mean, there was the Ed 209s. They're still dumbasses.
Yeah, I did like the shootout between him and the Ed 209s. I thought it was cool.
I did like that they were better graphically. Like it looked more realistic. I like that. You guys keep saying that you didn't like the suit. To me, it was something that was just building up to the end. Which, like I said, they were building up for a sequel. You got to look at it different ways.
No, fuck that. Make me one complete movie. Fuck you. Make me a complete movie. I'm tired of sequels. Make me a movie that when I get out of, I don't feel like I gotta wait a year to see what really fucking happens. Fuck that.
Everybody's different. But you also keep saying that you didn't like the Novak scenes.
Because it was nothing but stupid pundits. Like, it's just, you have Samuel L. Jackson playing a character that he doesn't belong playing. Like, he did okay.
It also moves to like the time that this is being shot. Back then it was the news, and now it's like it's the government. People backing. It's like the news scene is now a political thing. Like statement. Blah blah blah. Sam Jackson, like in that role, like at the end, I was like, why can't he run for president? Like he.
I see. I didn't see this. Like, I looked at the his character, and I don't want to get too political, but his character is in the President Obama era. He's modeled after a right-wing pundit like a Hannity. His character was not designed to be liked, and that's my problem with it. It's because like there's those scenes where like he's basically like the senator's talking about it and he cuts him off and he's like, America, fuck you, basically, you know what I mean? Like
he turns off the senator.
Yeah, like it's that character is just an ignorant asshole, and that's the big difference is they don't paint the news as, even in this is 2014, as being a fair outlet. Like the original's just news anchors who really don't give a shit. They're reading off a teleprompter and it's commercial in between about a new car, like, and in this one it was very much directed and it felt shoehorned. That's my take on the news thing.
It seemed like it was very political as far as there's a whole combination of things that's going on. You got people there in their politics thing, and they're putting it in the movies. And that is what Sam Jackson's character is. Do you not think that?
Yeah,
they were trying to push like how people see things.
Well, the problem is you take a side. If you're gonna you're not being apolitical, you're taking a side. And the problem with a storyline about fucking robots being the new police force,
Are they humans or are they not? Yeah.
but you don't go into the humans' right aspect of it. Like, you want to be political, but you don't talk about human rights you don't talk about, like, that's the thing is when it's robots, you don't have any argument for not being treated fairly as just a citizen, because they're blind to anything but injustice. So realistically, they would theoretically solve not only crime but racial tensions, all this stuff that's going on right now with police brutality and things like that. Theoretically, wouldn't exist because you can't claim it was a personal thing. The robots aren't going to get too heated. If you don't have a weapon, they're not going to shoot you. At the most, they'll tase you. And all they talk about is the less officers dying on the streets, which only makes sense if you utilize the first storyline of officers striking and them dying in record numbers, which this movie completely fucking ignores 100%.
And that's what I said. These are two different Detroits.
Well, no, it's one movie with plot holes, one that didn't have as many.
The first one is Dallas, and this one is Canada.
Okay.
Canada has been everything from New York to Chicago to Detroit. Home of the American muscle, eh? Oh, you're this big bad Robocop, huh?
There was something I was trying to compare, and now you just threw me off. So when he was looking through the list of all the criminals, and remember you said he gets that overload, and compared to when Murphy goes in and he puts the thing in there and he starts looking up known assailants or known accomplices. Did you guys see Lou Diamond Phillips pop up in the screen or no?
Which one?
When in the remake, when he's in there and he's getting a flashback of all the people that they were a part of. His name is Paul Franklin, and it looks like like a young Lou Diamond Phillips. You gotta look back and see that.
Yeah, no, I didn't see Lou Diamond Phillips. Maybe you're just having weird dreams about him.
No, I actually went back and I paused it a couple times.
Is he credited at all? Well, that wouldn't make any sense.
No, he's not. He's not. I think it just looks like him, but that's just me.
They got a Lou Diamond Phillips look-alike, damn it.
No, but I like the big difference between Murphy from the first and Murphy from this one. How he's more in touch with his humanity.
His feminine side.
Not his feminine side, his humanity. Because it makes it more believable that they wanted to put a sentient being inside a robot. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and it is one of those movies where in this one it's explicitly laid out for you. Like in the original, it's just like he's got he's got things he can and cannot do, and he's a police officer. But mainly they let like the scenes where it's just him basically deciding what's right and what's wrong. And in the reboot, it's like you have Gary Oldman once again shouting, where he's just like he's rewriting everything we've done to him. Like
the movie is shot in the first one is shot as an action / horror movie. I mean,
no. I mean, you went sci-fi action.
Sci-fi action, okay.
Yeah.
And this one is shot as a drama action.
I mean, sci-fi too, technically. But there is more slower parts. There's more focus on the human element.
So there's a little. I mean, it's a big difference, and that's one thing I can see about a remake that I can't get out of a lot of other remakes that I just can't figure out why the hell are they remaking this movie and why it just didn't make sense. This one kind of made sense to me. They were just trying to go in a different route, and you guys keep saying over and over about the suit, and I don't know. I hate the suit. It comes to full circle. It comes at the end. It shows up. I mean, they even did the whole party Robocop thing that was kind of funny.
Give me the fucking suit I want to fucking see from my fucking childhood. And don't give it to me at the end of the movie, where it's like, here's 5 seconds, you fucking asshole kid who loves this love this franchise. Like, that's the problem. Is it's like, I know you can say that it brings it. What does it bring it back to though? Like, it's another origin story. Like, I get to watch the sequel with his new colored suit. Oh, wait a minute. Dead on arrival. Never mind. Thanks, fucking MGM Grand.
Last thing I want to say about my comparison to the two movies. 41 minutes you had to wait before you finally heard some version of I wouldn't buy that for $1 came from Jackie Earle Haley.
Yeah, I was gonna say the shoehorned in Easter egg lines, like
It took 41 minutes.
Even at the end when he's like having
Dead or alive.
Yeah, and he's like, but the way he says it, like he's like, dead or alive, you're coming with. It's like,
yeah,
you couldn't have thought. I mean, come on, man. Like, he should have.
He couldn't have found other ways.
He could have said that to Val before he killed him. I mean, he unloaded an entire fucking clip on him. Throw it in there instead of Michael Keaton. Like, Michael Keaton doesn't give a shit. His character doesn't give a shit about anything but himself. He wouldn't give a fuck about some dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just misplaced, and I don't like some of the throwback stuff. I'll buy that for $1 from Jack Earle Haley. I think the literal thing I said out loud was, you're a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's my final thoughts on the comparison.
Lewis, you got any more on the comparison?
No, man. Hate the suit. That's it.
All right.
I did like something at the end. Finally, we got to hear Sam Jackson say "motherfucker."
Yeah,
okay.
That was probably the one F-bomb we got?
No, it was bleeped out.
Oh,
it was bleeped out for you?
Well, there was one that,
or
like,
the original?
and it's bleeped out. Like, I think he gets one off, but then they do one at the end of the movie that's bleeped out.
Oh, I heard that at the end.
What?
He said "motherfucker."
Yeah, but they bleep it out.
Not the version I watched. Okay.
There's only one version. Go back and watch it again.
Dude, I didn't hear a fucking bleeped anything. I heard him say "finally motherfucker" at the end, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was waiting for this. So did Sam Jackson drop it twice or once?
No, I think you're wrong. I'm almost like 99% positive that he bleeps it out. Because he goes on that little tirade where he says shit and motherfucker.
Gonna make me do this, aren't you?
I mean, you know.
So for a PG-13 film, you can only say fuck once.
Yeah. Used to be PG, you could say fuck. Spaceballs had it in it. I'm almost positive it comes in at the end when Samuel Jackson has his little tirade, and it's on his news show, so they bleep it out. That's how they get away with it.
Well, the version I watched today didn't do that, so...
Once again, there's only one version. They didn't release an unrated cut for this. You're hearing shit, bro. Pay attention to the fucking movies you watch. Now I gotta wait for him to, like, log in and rewatch it or some shit.
Yeah, you do.
Alright, we'll be, no.
Just go ahead.
Shush.
Just do what you gotta
Shush. We'll be right back. This is going to be a word from our sponsor. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be coming back with I believe it's top 20 best remakes. I don't know. We'll be back with the list here in a second. Here's a word from our sponsor. And that was a word from our sponsor. Thank you for joining us again. Just a word for everybody. Alex was wrong. He was proven wrong on the ad break. I want that to be known. He's hearing things, and I'm tired of it.
I was actually going to apologize, but fuck you now.
No apology necessary. Demolished, faced.
Okay, let's go.
I'm going to bring back the old, like, WWF call-outs to people in real life. Like, on Facebook. Like, I'm just going to tell you, brother, you cut me in line at Jewel. I want to fight. All right, so we're going to go through our list. This list is the 20 greatest dystopian future movies ranked worst to best. Yeah, let's get right into it. Number 20 is Soylent Green. Don't mock me, motherfucker. Basically, Soylent Green is overpopulation combined with runaway climate change. Ooh, has led to worldwide food shortages. Soylent industry feeds humanity with its artificial food products. Soylent Red, Yellow, and the brand new Green. However, when NYPD detective investigates Charlton Heston, the murder of a Soylent executive, he uncovers the horrific truth. Soylent Green is people. I haven't seen this movie in a long time. It's an older movie, so, like, you know, it's Planet of the Ape-esque, like, how it holds up.
I've watched it once.
Not a great name. Soylent Green.
It is iconic, though. Like, anytime you ever want to talk about, like, cannibalism, it's one of the first lines is, Soylent Green is people. So even if you've never seen the movie, I'm sure you've heard that. But, yeah.
Yeah. I have seen it once.
Any more on the Soylent Green?
Have not. I don't remember much of it.
All right, so number 19 is V for Vendetta. I personally really like this movie. I think the dialogue in it is really superb and really well written. Great graphic novel as well. It's very much 1984, meets Batman. But I like it. What do you guys think of it?
It's a good movie.
Stars
Hugo Weaving.
Yeah, Hugo Weaving. This is based off Alan Moore.
The 6 Degrees of Samara Weaving.
Yeah.
I was actually going to go that way, but you beat me to it.
No, yeah, the graphic novel is really good. Hugo Weaving is awesome in this movie.
Yeah. You don't even know it's him, too, the whole movie. Like,
yeah.
It's behind a fucking mask.
No,
he's got a great voice, either way, man.
He does. I definitely need to rewatch this one. It's been a while since I've seen it.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
Number 18, an interesting choice, Wall-E.
I really like the movie.
I do too.
If you really think about it, it's kind of a depressing movie, though.
Oh yeah, I mean
the
poor little robot's left to an entire lifetime of compacting garbage.
All alone,
by himself. Yeah. It's a sad movie.
His only friend is a fucking roach.
And it also has its kind of warnings of consumerism and gluttony and the sedentary lifestyle that the technology allows us to live.
And it teaches you that you can actually plant pizza.
Does he plant pizza?
No. Oh, it's it's the captain at the end.
I always find the scenes between Wall-E and Eva like just so endearing.
Eva.
Like he just looks at her like she is the only light he's seen in a long time of darkness, and it's such a sweet little relationship.
And it kind of references that when she touches the light bulb and turns it on.
Yeah,
his eyes are like, woo.
Yeah, and all the little sounds Wall-E makes, all right. Enough about Wall-E. We love it. We get it. Number 17. I actually love this movie, Minority Report. This is the whole concept of the pre-crime and arresting people before they commit it. I think it's a cool action movie. I like it.
Yeah.
I do too.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, the face mask changing scene in this movie.
Oh, when it goes to putty, yeah.
You beat me to it. That's what I was gonna say. That's the only thing that disturbs me about this movie.
Well, the scene with what's his face, the Russian guy. Don't play with it. Don't take off the wrappings. You go blind. I can't remember his name. He's in a bunch of movies. Very popular. He was in the Bad Boys 2. The Russian gangster is here. He's like shooting up the house in Miami. No, I don't know. I really like this movie. When you see it once, you know the ending. It's kind of like okay, but Tom Cruise makes good action movies. At the minimum, he pumps out good action flicks.
Yeah, he does.
He's crazy as fuck, but yeah, he's a good actor.
For Minority Report, he really learned how to fly a jetpack. It's probably bullshit.
Surprise me, honestly.
Alrighty, number 16, Gattaca. I can't remember this movie, man. I really can't. I don't remember much of it.
Doesn't the names letters have some kind of a scientific?
Oh, it's probably an
Meaning?
acronym. Yeah, I don't know what it stands for.
It's isn't it your genome sequence like GATTACA, like all the letters are.
My genome sequence actually spells rebel because I'm so cool.
Uh,
So, um, basically, after human genetic engineering becomes common, society is divided up into the valids who have been engineered from birth to. Basically, you're talking about human genome splicing, editing your children while in the womb to make them, the best they can be. Blah blah blah. I have to watch a movie again. I haven't seen it in a long time. Any last words on it?
The movie was
Uh,
produced by Danny DeVito.
Was it
oh,
really?
really?
Fucking Danny DeVito's awesome. Have you guys seen
This-
Super Troopers 2?
Not yet.
There's a part in it where they're fucking with the one Canadian officer is being messed with by the other ones. He's like, oh, I like that guy Danny DeVito from the Always Sunny in Philadelphia's, and he's like, yeah, I know, but the guy I'm talking about is the Danny DeVito's from the Taxis, and they get into like an argument about it being the same guy. All right, number 15, Mr. Roddy Piper in They Live.
Ooh, a John Carpenter flick.
Came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
This
But he
movie's
ran out of bubblegum.
awesomely cheesy. I like this movie. It's one of those 80s movies that is so dumb and cheesy you have to like it.
Yeah. He's great in Frogtown Comes to, or what is it? Frogtown Comes to Hell or something like that.
I'm not
It's a
up
really
to
bad
date
one
on all
too.
the Roddy
No,
Piper
it's
movies.
a really bad one too. I'm just throwing it out there.
Next week we'll be reviewing Hulk Hogan in Nanny and Suburban Commando.
Bionic Commando.
No, Suburban Commando. Bionic Commando is the NES title.
Okay, yeah, same thing.
No, it's not. That's the problem.
That's
It's-
where it came from.
Not only is it two different... No, it
It
didn't.
came from there. It
No,
came
it
from
didn't.
there. Yes, it did.
Bionic Commando, you don't fight aliens. Suburban Commando's about aliens. God damn it. Anyways, number 14, what he lacks, artificial intelligence.
Fuck this movie.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's a good movie. This movie is the equivalent of Freebird at a karaoke bar. It's way too long.
Yeah. Did you see dead people in this?
Wrong movie, dipshit. Number 13. Total Recall.
I've never seen this movie. What's it about?
So there's this dude, and he's an ice cream salesman. And
Sounds good.
He finds out that Mars is really hot, so he figures the
Okay.
people of Mars would enjoy his ice cream, and he goes there on a vacation.
So it's kind of like selling ice cubes in hell.
Everybody knows what Total Recall is about. And you can interpret it one of two ways. Either he's legitimately a double agent who, once he goes back into recall, it triggers his implant that kind of scrambles his brain, or he's in the recall chair right now. His brain is toast, and it's all in his mind, and they're trying to pull him out of the psychosis.
Or he was convinced to do the right thing versus the wrong thing, which he was the double, triple agent versus, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Could be
mean,
that too.
the
It could be that too.
the signs that they give you, like the little subtle clues, definitely point to him being stuck in the simulation.
Yeah.
Like, you know how the beginning is the ending, and it's like when they're reading, like we'll go over this. We have to review these too, because
Someday.
these are someday after October. We're gonna have to do another set of remakes.
You don't want to wait till February? Isn't that his birthday?
No, why? I'm not timing.
When was his birthday?
April, I think.
April.
March or April.
Don't you want to wait that long?
No,
We're
fuck you.
talking about our Lord and Father, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I liked him better when he was named Arnold Strong.
All right, so number 12, Snowpiercer. You
I've
guys see
only
this
seen
movie?
bits and pieces of this one. I've
It's a
only seen
great
bits and
fucking
pieces.
Film. This is by Bong Joon-ho, who did Parasite.
What'd you call me?
This is an awesome film. Some would say it's a sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh?
I don't
Nice.
think I've ever heard anyone say that.
There's
Well-
weird YouTube videos that present an odd theory that it's a sequel. I would recommend looking.
I have to look into that. Yeah, because I've never.
I
I've
get it
never
though,
heard
when he
that.
when he flies away and where does he go?
Like go down a dark rabbit hole. There's some pretty cool videos about it.
Nice.
I've only seen this movie once. I remember the ending, like it was supposed to be that kind of like shock ending, and in my head I'm like, at least y'all motherfuckers eating something.
Have
But
any of you seen the TNT series?
Nah.
Nah.
I generally stay away from series made out of from movies, except for like Fargo.
I watched a couple of episodes. They're not bad so far. I haven't finished the series, but
Although it's got Daveed Diggs from Hamilton and whatever else he's in that's not Hamilton.
yeah, it's not too bad from what I've seen so far. I mean, it covers from what I remember of the movie. So
Alrighty. Last thoughts? Anything? Are we good on that one?
yeah, we move on.
Number 11, Planet of the Apes, the original, 1968 edition. Charlton Heston, an astronaut, crash lands on a strange yet oddly familiar planet. Discovers it's ruled by apes. Alex, famous line from this movie.
Damn you, stinky apes, or some shit like that.
You lose. Lewis, famous line of this movie.
God damn you, dirty apes.
I'm pretty sure it's get your hands off me, you damn dirty apes. You both fail.
Yeah,
Final thoughts.
and I own it. I own it too.
Yeah. Final thoughts. If you have this movie and the one with Mark Wahlberg, throw that one away and watch this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, my recommendation, and it's really nothing against this movie, you light the Mark Wahlberg and this one on fire, and you just watch the Caesar trilogy. End of story.
Say Caesar or teaser?
Caesar trilogy, the latest ones were based around the character monkey named of Caesar.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 10, Akira! Akira is an animated movie.
Never ever watched any of these
son of a
animated
bitch,
movies.
yeah. Akira is actually really good. It's really well animated. If just a note, side note, if you do watch it, always watch the Japanese language track. It's a better soundtrack than the American, like a better mix. It's true 5.1. The American soundtrack's always been dubbed down to stereo, and it sounds like shit. So watch it with subtitles. Watch the Japanese track. But yeah, it's basically set in Tokyo. Tokyo is destroyed by a massive explosion, leads to World War III. It's kind of rebuilt in this Neo-Tokyo type of style. I'm not a big anime fan, but it's actually a really good movie.
It is a good movie.
Final thoughts on Akira?
Bless you.
Thank you.
No, good film. Definitely watch it.
Alejandro.
No, I've never seen it. I told you.
All right.
My apologies.
Number 9, Mad Max the original, starring the intoxicating Mel Gibson. Alex, what do you think?
It is fucking strange, the original. But I did like it because it was something different when I was a kid. I didn't see it when it came out, so I had to watch it a couple years later because I was only 3 years old.
Well, that's your fault. You should have gotten to the movies, you little bitch.
I know, man, but they wouldn't let me in.
Lewis, are you mad for Max?
It's a good movie. Honestly, I remember seeing Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, before seeing the first one.
Yeah, and they're entirely different.
They are completely different.
They are weird films, but I love the style of them. And Mel Gibson is fucking awesome in this movie.
He's back when he still had his Australian accent.
Yeah.
There's a couple scenes. There's a couple scenes that stand out in this one to me. When his partner gets like run over, and he visits him in the hospital, and it's got that very like 70s style of they don't even show the body, just like Mel Gibson's reaction to it. And when he rips off the gang leader's hand, when he grabs onto the bumper with his thing and it rips off the fucking hand. It's 70s violent, but compared to today's standards, it's really not violent at all. Final thoughts on Mad Max. I do enjoy it though. I like the movie.
I do.
It's a strange movie, but yeah, it's still good.
Alrighty, so number 8, RoboCop.
I've never seen this.
Yeah. It's on my list. Number 7.
Pass.
Escape from New York, 1981, starring the ruggedly handsome Kurt Russell. Basically, a former special ops type soldier gets sent in to save the Presidente, I believe, right? Yeah, the President of the United States. This is a dystopian future where basically the entire world has been put into savage type territory. It's a classic. There's not much more I'm going to say. You guys, what do you think of it?
I liked him better in Captain Ron.
What?
Just saying. I'm just fucking around, dude. I love this movie, man.
So the interesting thing is he's in the movie Soldier, which is actually connected to the Blade Runner universe. Like the planet that he gets dumped on in the movie Soldier, because it was designed to be like a sequel before it became what it was. The planet, the garbage planet he gets dumped on, is a planet known in the Blade Runner universe. So it's within the universe. But yeah, he made Escape from L.A., which was way cheesier, not nearly as good.
Yeah.
Number 6, Children of Men. This movie is depressing as fuck.
It is.
Great
I still
movie,
enjoyed
though.
it.
It's a great movie.
I
still enjoyed it, yeah.
Clive Owen is awesome too, and I can't think of anything I've watched recently that he's been in.
Shoot 'em up.
Yeah. That wasn't recent, was it? Was it after this?
No, Shoot 'em up was probably around the same time as this, actually. All right, anything else to say about Children of Men? Basically, it's the dystopian future where nobody can have children, and this girl is pregnant. So Clive Owen kind of takes on the job of transporting her from where she needs to, to safety, basically, because you have people who want to save her and people who want to kill her simply because she's the only person to be able to get pregnant.
Either they want to take the baby or they just want to kill her
They
because
want
they
to
don't want anybody to know that she can have a baby.
Exactly. They want to keep the kind of that hope dead.
Yeah. I got nothing else to say about that.
I saw this movie on a date when I was in high school. Not a good movie to pick for date. I'm just saying.
That's a bummer.
No.
Like, nothing says come back to my house and feel me up like depressing, dystopian future, fucking Clive Owen dies in the end.
Speaking of dates, my first date movie with my wife was House of the Dead. And I
Dude,
apologize.
she should have never fucking...
This day, I apologize to her.
Like, she would have been completely justified if you were like, yeah, let's go on a date, and you take her to a movie, and she was like, what do you have tickets for? And she looked
No, we were at my house watching this. We watched it.
I would have walked right the fuck out. No, you're not taking. I'm not watching a house of that piece of ooey bowl piece of shit. I ain't watching that movie.
My wife and I's first date movie was the Fantastic Four anthology by Mike Daltrey, Trick or Treat.
Nice.
Good movie. My wife and I's first date was Coraline.
That's a good movie.
I know how to do it. I've been with her for almost 12 years. I did something right.
My wife was 17.
Wonderful. Well, you're older than me. Good for you. Jesus, fuck, gotta compare.
Let's move on to the next one.
At least I like the gifts my wife gives me.
Hey.
Number 5, The Matrix. Everybody knows the fuck The Matrix is. It's a cool movie. It spawned
It's about batteries, right?
It spawned 2... No. It's about computer vector systems.
No, aren't they batteries?
Well, I mean, yeah, that was the whole thing, is the robots are using them as like the life source to suck out of them. That's why they rebirth them the way they do. Yeah, but that's one line in the fucking movie. You're literally like, the whole movie's about their batteries. You took one line out of the movie. Jesus. Number 4. Louis, you got anything to say about The Matrix?
No, I mean, it's a good film. Everyone's seen it. You wouldn't have John Wick without this movie, so...
I don't know, dude. He was in Speed.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
We gotta review Speed now. God damn it.
As long as we don't have to review Speed 2.
Well, he's not in it, so...
Good. It's terrible. Anyways.
No, I enjoyed Matrix. Matrix, the last one, not so much.
I liked Reloaded. I didn't like the third one as much. I thought there was too much of the robot combat.
Yeah, but I thought they were just trying to push...
The weird orgy dance party.
Yeah, that scene always reminds me of, like, Blade 1, where he's in like the like underground nightclub in the beginning where the blood comes down. They're very reminiscent, and the Wachowskis are weird fucking people. Okay, their sensual scenes are just awkward. It's just whatever. Like that was the whole thing. Is like they tried to explore the humanity element of the Matrix universe, and it's like these people are weird. Fuck them. Just focus on the Matrix.
It was the third one you're speaking of for that scene, I believe. That's the one.
I like number 2. I think the highway chase scene is one of the coolest fucking action scenes like ever.
Yeah.
So is the fight scenes between him and Agent Smith. I mean, even in the third one, the Agent Smith fight scenes are really cool.
The second one had the twins, right? The albino twins. Yeah.
It also had the fight in the park with him against like thousands of Agent Smiths.
Yeah. That was really good.
Like that's the thing, is the second one was like really cool for the most part, and then the third one just, the ending's not satisfactory. We'll put it that way. Number 4, A Clockwork Orange.
I actually watched this in music class when I was in high school, my sophomore year.
Really?
Yeah.
Your music teacher was a fucking hippie, wasn't he?
Yeah, it took us 3 days to watch this movie during the course of the time, because every morning he would tell us the same fucking story about him going to a Popeye's Chicken and somebody had a seizure and he said, "I'll have that to go," which he thought was fucking hilarious, which it wasn't. But we watched this movie for 3 days.
See, if he was really hilarious, he'd have been like, "I'll have what they had." That's comedy. Like Harry Met Sally.
Movie stars the young Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, Malcolm McDowell, dude. The whole movie's weird. These guys are just pieces of shit. And in one instance, they save a girl from being raped by a rival goofy gang, and then in the next scene, they're raping this guy's wife. It's an off-the-wall movie. It's a social commentary based off of a book of what the degeneration of society would look like if it went untethered. It's a cool movie. It's just fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
Lewis, you got anything else? Oh, sorry, Alex.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, we watched it because the music in the movie. That's why we watched it in music class, because he really wanted to show us the score and everything. But I was like, we had to watch the entire movie, which is kind of strange. But yeah, go ahead, Lewis. I'm sorry.
No, it's a good movie. Definitely a weird one. This is more along the lines of like a Darren Aronofsky film where you kind of like you have to be in the mood to watch it. It's not a movie you can just throw on because it's just really weird.
Yeah. So it's cool. It's an odd movie. I've actually seen this once. Number 3, Brazil, starring Jonathan Pryce. It's from what I can remember, a really off the wall movie.
I've never seen this one.
So, a fly caught in a printer leads to a typographical error that causes the imprisonment and death of an innocent man instead of a wanted terrorist. Sam Lowry, a lowly government employee, is sent to rectify the situation and discovers the man's neighbor resembles the woman from his dreams. It's a weird fucking movie. It's an old... it feels old. It's whatever, man. Anybody else? You guys have never seen it?
Directed by Terry Gilliam.
Boo, yeah. Number 2, Metropolis. Perhaps the original dystopian film, Metropolis, takes place in a massive city of towering Art Deco skyscrapers. Basically, it's what people in the 20s thought the future would look like.
Boy, they were wrong.
I mean, they look at the 80s. Look at Robocop. Look how wrong they fucking were.
I think the closest was Back to the Future, don't you think?
I mean, we still don't have flying cars. I mean, the Cubs won a year. They were a year off from predicting it, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's the closest.
Yeah, I think Back to the Future handles time travel the best and how they interweave it between all 3 sequels. Number 1, which I figured it was going to be, the classic 1982 Blade Runner. Lewis, tell me a little bit about Blade Runner.
It's a good film. Ridley Scott, Harrison Ford is tasked with going after the replicants. I believe he starts out going after the replicants.
Yep, he's a hunter.
At the end of the film,
He's a hunter,
in the film, they kind of toy with the idea of if he is one, The sequel to this movie is actually pretty good.
I
too.
have not
If you
seen
guys
it,
seen
man. I own it. I haven't watched it yet.
It's a beautiful fucking film, especially if you have it in 4K.
I do.
Yeah. Well, I don't, but yeah, it is a good movie.
Yeah,
I don't have that 4K shit.
There's probably 7,462 cuts of this fucking film. I stopped.
Yeah, yeah. I remember I actually, one day when the DVD or Blu-ray came out of the director's whatever version cut, I went over to watch it with you, Alex. I think I fell asleep on your floor. It was
My
like,
HD DVD.
Yes, yeah, because it was like 3 hours and something minutes long. But basically the concept is he's a hunter. So synthetic beings are illegal, and he hunts them down and eliminates them. And the basic concept is throughout him doing his job, hunting these non-human entities, he himself kind of loses his own humanity. And that's where the crossroads at the end with the main villain kind of come in, and that's where the question of is he a replicant or a synthetic or not, because he delves into his own being as far as his profession. But that's it.
I think he was.
Number one
Also has a couple of people that are starring in there too. Rutger Hauer and Hauer, whatever.
Rutger
and
Hauer,
Daryl Hannah.
Hobo with a shotgun. But yeah, so that's number one. That's the last. That was the 20 best dystopian future movies, worst to the best. So
I've seen 16 out of these 20. That's the first time we've had a list where I've watched a lot of them.
You fail, you motherfucker. That is everything from me. Alrighty, so thank you for being with us. Next week, join us. We're going to be reviewing 2 movies, Hotel Artemis, as well as The Invisible Man. So we'll be checking those out next. And that will wrap up September's month, I believe. And then we're on to Haunted October. It's going to be awesome. We're doing different formatting. We got 3 movies a week. We're doing our own curated lists of what we like. It's going to be each specific category. Look out for it. It's going to be pretty nice. Check out the video version of it then too, because we'll have a couple little changes and surprises going on with that. But with that said, I will see you guys next week. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. And Alex, go ahead and take it away.
When are we going to do World's Greatest Dad? Good night.
All right, guys. See you next week.
You're an asshole. Thank you for joining us, and make sure to check out the audio version of this episode on Spotify, Apple iTunes, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Be on the lookout for new weekly episodes. You can find us by searching Nerditude Movie Podcast, and that'll get you where you need to go. Check out the video version, if you're into that sort of thing, on YouTube. Just search Nerditude Entertainment. Thanks for joining us. Please remember to like and subscribe.